This meeting is a meeting of the Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. This meeting is an in-person meeting at 870 Colfax, which is the location listed above. In addition, a live stream of this meeting is available at the following link. Questions may be submitted beforehand to liz.goodwin@bhas.org or presented in person during the public comment sections as indicated in the agenda. Board members may be contacted through the emails listed below. Requests for special assistance, including for persons with disabilities, may be sent to liz.goodwin@bhas.org. I call this meeting to order officially at 6:06 p.m. We will begin by reciting the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Secretary Triplett, can you please call the roll?
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowen,
Yes,
Or present?
I'm saying, yeah, President.
I'm gonna start over.
My apologies, I threw us off.
This meeting officially called to order at 6:07. President Robinson,
Present.
Vice President Bowen,
President.
Secretary Triplett, present. Treasurer Creighton, Trustee Rocket Martin, Trustee Doyle,
Present.
Trustee Gavin.
Present.
Quorum has been established, Madam President.
All right, thank you. A quorum has been established. Next, we have approval of the agenda. There is one minor adjustment to the agenda. Dr. Buss does have a brief presentation that he would like to make, which is acknowledgement of certain board members and staff. And I would like to place that directly before board business, being that there is no board business, so that we can do that while we have the public present. So I would ask, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
President Robinson,
Yes.
there's a couple issues on the agenda. One, we called the special meeting for board business for the superintendent search and the boiler replacement. That's the purpose of the meeting. That is board business. That should be under board business. So I would like for that to be under board business. And then there is a section for the superintendent's announcements and comments on the agenda. There's a standard section there for that item. So I'm requesting that we include that in the standard section under the superintendent's announcements and comments. And then also we requested links for the superintendent search survey, and that's missing from the agenda as well.
Okay, so as it relates to the old business, I have no problem with that being moved up to board business. So you can make a suggestion to, you can make your motion with your amendments. I'm sorry, go ahead and make the motion and then we'll see if you have the approval for it. So
Okay.
repeat the adjustments that you want to make and then we'll see if it passes.
Just move that the superintendent search and the boiler replacement go underneath the board business, and then the presentation for the superintendent would go under superintendent announcements and comments, as well as the supporting information for the superintendent search link and the boiler replacement.
And you're making a motion for those amendments to the agenda?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so a motion has been made by Trustee Gavin with the noted amendments. Is there a second or support? Support. The motion has been made by Trustee Gavin and supported by, was that Treasurer Creighton?
Yes,
All right, any questions, comments, or concerns?
I have a question or clarifying question. So currently, under old business is the superintendent search and the boiler replacement. And so the way that I hear the resolution or the motion is that the superintendent would just do his recognition under his section. So it sounds like everything is correct the way that it's printed on our printed agenda. Is that correct?
So the way that it's, right, the way that you have it printed on the agenda of course, it has teaching and learning, then HR, old business, and then superintendent announcements. What I initially was suggesting was that we put the superintendent announcement at the very top, because what I found is that often when we get to positive things and recognitions at the end of the meeting, majority of the public has left. What
Gotcha.
trustee Gavin is asking is that his announcements remain where they are, and that instead of superintendent search and boiler replacements be in old business, she wants to move them up to board business. So essentially, the same items on the agenda, she just wants to restructure it. So right now, we're taking a vote to see if there's a motion to support her restructuring of the agenda.
Okay, so essentially you're saying that under old business, it's going to move up to board business, what's the difference, I guess?
It's not.
I didn't necessarily, I put it under old business because that is legitimately board business, but trustee Gavin is just asking that we move it up
Gotcha.
under board business. So that's why I just want, when the agenda isn't set in stone, we be prepared, but it's not set in stone until we get here. So it's just really up for the majority of the board to determine how they want
Gotcha.
the meeting to flow. Any other questions or comments?
Madam President.
You have the floor.
The people that are being recognized, are they here now?
Uh,
Are they present?
Dr. Butts?
Yes, ma'am. The person, there's one person to be recognized and they are in the audience. They are on the board right now.
And since they are here now and may not desire to stay the entire meeting, I would rather we go ahead and let the superintendent recognize them now.
Okay, any other comments about the amendment to the agenda? Because we're just at the agenda, so we can take the vote and then trustee Gavin.
President Robinson, with it being one person, I have no problem with that item being moved above board business. I just ask that because we've waited so long to get updates on these issues, we canceled out the last meeting. I just ask that we put those issues that's been set aside under board business underneath the superintendent recognition of the staff.
Thank you, trustee Gavin. And you guys know I rarely make comments. My comment today is that we are not going to be here all evening. I do not anticipate that. This meeting is a continuation of our previous meeting that had gone longer than we would all prefer to go. And so we honestly do not have more than an hour and a half of business to conduct. And I am giving everyone my word that we will be kept at 2 minutes per trustee per topic, and we will be moving forward expeditiously. So at this particular time, I would ask that Secretary Triplett call the vote. And again, we're calling the vote for trustee Gavin's recommendation that we amend the agenda.
Point of clarity.
Yes.
So did I hear trustee Gavin making an amendment to her initial motion?
Yes, I would like to amend the agenda to put the superintendent's presentation of appreciation before the board business and to move the superintendent search and the boiler replacement under board business and keep the rest of the agenda as is.
Support.
All right, so the motion has been made by trustee Gavin and supported by treasurer Creighton that we approve the agenda with the noted amendments to allow for a brief presentation prior to board business and moving superintendent search and boiler replacements under board business. The motion has been made by trustee Gavin and supported by treasurer Creighton. Are there any additional comments to that restructured or amended motion? Hearing none, Secretary Triplett.
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowen,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Treasurer Creighton,
Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin,
Yes.
Trustee Doyle,
Yes.
Trustee Gavin,
Yes.
motion carried.
All right, next on the agenda, we have the review of board norms. And Liz, if you could do me the honor of opening that link for me. You would think I know these by heart by now. The Board of Education norms for Benton Harbor area schools. Thank you, Secretary Triplett. We will treat each other with respect. We will listen to learn. We will refrain from side conversations. We will use our time wisely, starting and ending our meetings on time. We will challenge ideas, not people. We will ask questions when in doubt. There will be no surprises at the board table, and we will practice the 7 norms of collaboration. Those norms are pausing, paraphrasing, posing questions, putting ideas on the table, providing data, paying attention to self and others, and presuming positive intentions. Next on the agenda, we have public comment on agenda items. Is there anyone that is present to make a public comment on an agenda item? You have the floor. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me read the public comment statement. Liz, can you open that for me? The Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on district matters. Today, there are 2 areas for comment on the agenda of which you may decide when to speak: public comment on agenda items and open public comment. We request that each interested participant complete a public participation form using legible writing to ensure that responses are appropriate and properly focused. Per Benton Harbor Area Schools Bylaw 0167.3, which governs board participation at board meetings, we request that you preface your comments with your name, address, and group affiliation when appropriate. Each statement made by a participant shall be limited to a 3-minute duration, and per our bylaws, no participant may speak more than once on the same topic until any other persons have had the opportunity to speak on that topic. Participants may remove their mask when addressing the board. Participants shall direct all comments to the board and not to staff or other participants. The board will listen, take comments and questions under advisement, and not respond at this time. I, as president, will refer questions to the superintendent for research and response. Please ensure that your public participation form includes your contact information as requested. If you have specific questions for the board or executive team that require follow-up, please email those directly to liz.goodwin@bhas.org. And Liz, I just had a thought. I know that you have the public comment forms. Moving forward, can we have those double-sided so it has the public comment statement on it? And then that way they can reference it. Some people understand better in reading. We can just do front and back. You have the floor.
My name is Sherry Shalagi. I reside at 291 Hastings Avenue, Benton Harbor, Michigan, 49022. I will remind board members Triplett, Robinson, Bowens, and Rockette Martin that the facts and analysis presented to the board March 14th, 2023 states that the district boilers need replacement after several years of neglect and their life expectancy has expired. Furthermore, the recommended action presented to the board March 14th, 2023 was to approve the replacement of the high school boiler and others in the district as needed. A vote of no to approve replacement of the high school boiler and others in the district as needed on March 14th by Triplett, Robinson, Bowens, and Rockette Martin is a violation of School Board Policy 7430, safety in schools, whereby the inspection of the aforementioned boilers have been deemed unsafe as their life expectancy has expired. If board members Triplett, Robinson, Bowens, and Rockette Martin continue to put our school community at risk by failing to vote to replace the boilers as needed and maintain the established precedent of holding summer school at Fairplain Middle School to allow for the safe and timely replacement of the boiler at the high school, then board members Triplett, Robinson, Bowens, and Rockette Martin are at risk of being held liable for creating a substantially dangerous public school environment where they knew about the danger the boilers presented and created additional opportunity for injury by failing to vote yes to replacing said boilers, failing to hold summer school at a safe location, Fairplain Middle School, and allowing the school community to inhabit the high school and other schools in the district whose boilers were judged to need replacement.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment on agenda items? You have the floor.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Most of you know me. My name is George Piggy. I reside at 1625 Shawnee Road in Benton Harbor.
I can't hear him.
Yes. My name is George Piggy. I reside at 1625 Shawnee Road, Benton Harbor, Michigan. I'm a resident of the district. Also used to be employed here at the district for 28 years. I worked in the custodian and maintenance department. Okay. My question to the board is when and if, when the boilers get fixed, is there a plan in place to maintain and also keep up with the service plan of these boilers? Because if you do not service them and have a person on hand to service these boilers, you're throwing bad money, good money away. Also, because I worked in the district and I worked here several years, and I know what's supposed to be done in the summertime, springtime, fall, and all. And I know that when I was a custodian, we pulled out the univents, we cleaned them, we oiled them, we put filters in. We did that in the summertime. The boilers were serviced when I was here. They were serviced every summer. Some boilers was on a regular routine to where they were serviced and they was inspected by an inspector. So with that being said, I'm asking the board to, because of the outsourced service that you guys, not you guys, I'm not blaming you guys, please understand that. I just think that back then when they chose to outsource the maintenance and the custodian, I don't think they really thought things through. And I really think that here in this school district, they need their own heating and boiler person on hand, a licensed person. I also believe that they need their own electrician here, licensed electrician here. You need that. You also need some guys that can do plumbing, that can do the maintenance of this building and maintain this whole entire district. Also believe that even with our custodian staff here, yeah, we had issues. I know Miss Raquette, she's a principal here, so she knows. Yeah, and I was a president too of the union. So yeah, you have bad people in every position. That's just the way it is. But I think that if you get the right peoples here on the staff here, custodians and your maintenance crew, this district will run really, really smooth, really smooth. And you have to have somebody in charge to lead the way and hold everybody accountable for their jobs here. I think if that happens, you won't have any problems here. But if you get these boilers fixed and you don't have somebody on hand, it's going to cost this district a lot of money just to keep them up and running. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else for open public comment or public comment on agenda items rather? You have the floor. He might need some assistance with the mic.
Oh, he got it. Okay.
I am 7 green. I am 7 green and
He probably can hold it.
I'm 7 green and I live at Parker Avenue 274. And
Don't be nervous.
the reason I think the boilers should be replaced is because just imagine you're in a room for 8 whole hours and you're just in there frozen. And you won't be able to pay attention to the board. All you're going to be able to pay attention is to the code. So then you wouldn't be able to learn a single thing. And if we're supposed to be the future and the new generation, then I don't understand how we're going to get frozen and then be the new generation. Because if this generation now is supposedly just lazy and stuff, then how do you think the next generation is going to be when we have to deal with thinking about getting frozen constantly when we want to do so much as just learn? So, and that's why I think you should, the boiler should be fixed.
Thank you so much. You have the floor.
Okay, Brenda Terrell, 2359 Rossi Road, Benton Harbor. I'm standing to piggyback off what my student said, my brilliant student said. Something has to happen with these boilers. We have got to do something. As union president, now we let a lot of stuff slide. We're not gonna let it slide this year, you guys. I'm just telling you now, I'm just giving you a heads up. Like Seven said, we froze in those buildings. We're not gonna do that this winter. It's not gonna happen. So whatever we need to do, we need to get to work. Because those teachers and those students, especially our students, and they know it's hard to work with gloves on and coats and hats and boots. It's hard to work like that. So what he's saying, it's reality. He experienced that. He shouldn't have had to experience that in a classroom. So whatever the plan is, we need to get the plan, the ball rolling, because it cannot happen to us again, and we will not allow it. So I want to come back in a positive way, but if things are not happening, things will happen. Union, according to the union, it will happen. So if you don't want that to happen, we got to get things done. We got to have a plan B if it don't happen. And then we have to sit in, what is the plan for the kids when it's cold in the classrooms? Because I mean cold where you can see your breath cold, not just you just a little chilly, cold. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment on agenda items?
Hi, my name is Gwen Johnson, and I am at 400 East Empire, Benton Harbor, Michigan. Just a couple of things I wanted to say about the boilers. I just want to know, actually, I want to ask a question. I wanted to know who decided to keep the children in the high school during the summer for summer school when clearly they can be over at Fairplain Junior High, where there is less danger with the boilers, more healthier and safer environment for them to learn, opposed to being in the high school where the boilers need to be replaced and it's a dangerous environment. During the summer, the boilers should be getting replaced, and the only people that should be in here on a daily basis is the workers. Because again, that's a dangerous environment for our children and for our staff. Okay, so I would like to know who made that decision to keep them here when, it's a no-brainer to put them somewhere where they can be clearly more safe, more healthier, safer environment. Second, there was a superintendent search survey that was supposed to go out well over a month ago. And I don't believe it has gone out. I haven't received anything. I don't think anybody in the community has received anything as far as a superintendent search survey. And I believe it was supposed to go out, if I'm not mistaken, according to the president, 24 to 48 hours. And it's been well over a month. So I would like to know, and other community members would like to know why, three questions. Why haven't it went out? Second question, is it going to go out? Third question, when is it going to go out? So if you guys could please, let us know what's going on, because when you say you're going to do something, we expect you to do it. We expect you to keep your word at it. And so far, we have not seen that as far as the superintendent search survey. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment on agenda items?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Emma Kennard. I live at 270 East May Street. And I'm here to just follow up with what has been already said. And this baby is a hard act to follow. He is really, I was just so impressed with his complaint about how cold he had. He experienced that. And our children is the reason that you all are here. And it's the utmost important that these children are safe. So I expect that this be done right away. Because myself as a mother, my children came through the school. I'm a grandmother and a great grandmother. And when I see these children, I deal with children on almost a daily basis, are at risk, cold in their classrooms. And then the boilers not updated. Anything that gets old over a period of time needs to be replaced. You can botch it up for over a period of time, but it comes to a time that it needs to be replaced. And there's nothing wrong with replacing a boiler here to keep these children safe and warm in their classrooms so that they won't have any excuse for learning. So the option for failure should not be. And we should make sure that our children are protected. I'm one of them that whatever we have to do, we'll do what we have to do to make sure that our children are safe. And many of you all have been educators, been in the school. It should be important to you that these furnaces or that all of the equipment is running just right to keep our children safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else for public comment on agenda items? All right, so thank you all for your comments. If there is no one else that would like to make a comment now, just as a reminder, you do also have an opportunity to make a comment towards the end of the meeting under the open public comment section. Next on the agenda is approval of meeting minutes. The minutes that we have to approve at this particular time are from the closed session for 5/23/2023. And so if the board would look before them at the minutes regarding the closed session, peruse them if you haven't already had an opportunity to do so. And then I'd ask if there is a motion to approve the closed session minutes from May 23rd, 2023.
Madam President,
You have the floor.
make a motion that we approve our closed session meeting minutes from May 23rd, 2023.
Support.
The motion has been made by Treasurer Creighton and supported by Vice President Bowens. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none, Secretary Triplett.
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowen.
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Treasurer Creighton.
Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Doyle.
Yes.
Trustee Gavin.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, thank you. So now we are moving right along to Dr. Butts. There is a presentation, a brief presentation that he would like to make. And I misspoke slightly. I thought he had multiple people, but he actually has one. So I will give him the floor for the presentation.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to present this certificate from the Michigan Association of School Boards to Ms. Stephanie Rocket Martin for becoming a certified board member, having completed the course requirements for the Certified Board Member Award CBA program, which was awarded to her just a month ago.
Thank you.
I knew that you were the one receiving one of the presentations, but I couldn't tell you when you were advocating for that one person that you didn't know would be here, that it was you. So look how God works. All right. So congratulations, Trustee Rocket Martin. We're extremely proud of you. As a reminder, if you all could pass your closed session minutes down, because it was a closed session, it is private. So we want to make sure that we don't leave anything behind in error. All right. We have Miss Trustee Doyle, you passed yours down, right? Okay, so yes, sir, you have all copies. All right, next on the agenda, we have the board business. This was previously under old business. It's been moved up. So our two items at this particular time under board business are superintendent search and boiler replacement. My understanding is boiler replacement was a topic for discussion, but a general update for us to understand the status of the boilers. So I'll begin with opening up for superintendent search. As you all know, we are currently in a position where we've had our interim Dr. Butts, who stepped into office for us July 1st of 2022. After the transition of our former superintendent, Dr. Townsell, Dr. BHAS has been with us for a period of a year in this interim superintendency. And so at this particular time, the Board of Education is searching or making considerations about what our leadership will look like moving forward. If you have been in our meetings, then you know that this is a conversation that we've approached many times. We all kind of have some similar inputs on what we want or what we're looking for as it relates to a permanent superintendent. We all have had some debates and quite a bit of conversation, but this is a lingering topic that we have not been able to put to an actual resolution. I know that there was a question regarding the superintendent search survey. That was something that we discussed previously. Paul Corson is the one that assisted with drafting of the survey and has some additional language or some language on the survey. He shared it with me. I looked at the draft, which is something I've shared with you before, but something about the language of the draft just didn't seem right to me, which I've mentioned before in the meeting. And I did get offers of support to help me get it restructured. But that connection was never actually made for us to get that superintendent search finalized. I believe in Ms. Gavin's initial request regarding the survey, she asked about access to the link, but I just realized that I have access to view the link, but Paul Corson created the link. So I don't know that I can actually share that or if it's going to be a document that's visible with you all. And I just realized once we got started that Mr. Corson is not here, which he normally is. So I can try to attempt to see if Corson can share you all what that language looked like. He would have to provide access to that document because I don't have the rights to it. Trustee Gavin.
President Robinson, generally we meet about once a month. And this is something that's been lingering for quite a long time. It wasn't a whole lot of, there was no objection to a superintendent search survey going out. At the board table, we agreed on what those questions would be. You are the only person who's been privy to those questions, and I have requested a meeting. I have requested to look at the survey. The community was told that the survey would be available, and that was over a month ago. I believe that, you know, since we called a special meeting, all staff knew that we were meeting about the superintendent search survey. So I would think that, you know, with $1 million or so on that third floor, somebody can produce that superintendent search survey link so that we can take a look at those 3 or 4 questions tonight. And if there's nobody who can do that, that's a problem. That's a problem. I would say regardless of how people feel about what we should do or shouldn't do, we'll never know if we won't put the survey out to the community, to the staff, to the students, to the people, to be able to hear what they have to say or what they think. And it's starting to feel political. So I guess what I'm saying is, what can we do? You saying Mr. Corson is not here. If he sent it to you, then I believe that you have the power to share that link.
So when the survey is a document, if I'm not mistaken, so it's not, I can forward it.
Yes,
but a lot of
please.
times when there are documents, you have to give somebody rights to access it, is what I'm communicating. And as a response to your comment, yes, we as a board did like the idea that was received from the public that we would send out the survey to the public. And yes, I have been the one that has been privy of that survey, but there is nothing that is political because everything that I do at this board table, and I have no, I'm not sure if you're indicating that it's me that made it political, but I have no political vendettas or alternative motives other than what I expressed at this table. Another thing that I would like to respond to is we did discuss having the survey as an opportunity to get additional thoughts and comments from the community, which we always want. But we also held an open public forum for the community in person here at Benton Harbor area schools. And it is our opportunity to hear from the public. And the public showed up in overwhelming masses and gave us their opinion. And we did our due diligence in ensuring that the public was invited to that meeting, was aware of it, and that was invitations given to the staff and the community to ensure that we were able to hear their voices as well. So I acknowledge you pointing out that the survey had yet to go out, but I would like to also just point out that we did receive that community feedback from the community that showed up in overwhelming numbers to make sure that the Board of Education was able to hear their input as it relates to the superintendent search.
Point of clarity. You indicated that you have the language and possibly a document form. Can you go ahead and forward that language from the survey to us, whether it's copy and paste or to Liz so that she can forward it to us so that we can know what it is that you have an issue with?
Yep, I can attempt to do so now.
Thank you.
It would go to board emails. And I apologize to the public that I'm on my phone. So I'm gonna forward that. While we're on the topic of superintendent search, I'll open it up if there's any additional comments from the board. You have the floor, Vice President Vaughn.
Madam President, I just want to double check. We would not be in violation of a state law that we have to have a superintendent in place by July 1st. Otherwise, we would be in violation of the state law, or am I correct? Or effective July 31st. We will not have, June 31st. We will not have a superintendent.
So our current interim superintendent's contract technically expires June 30th.
June 30th.
Correct.
So as of June 30th, we would not have a superintendent.
As of July 1st.
July 1st. And we would be in violation of the state law.
The state expectation that you have a superintendent.
Would that be detrimental to our partnership agreement?
Well, I think that's are you expecting? I feel like I'm being grilled.
I'm asking you.
What I would ask is that you make your comment that you're making, because it's kind of a back and forth and sharing of the table. So I just want you to maintain the floor.
I think we would be in violation of the partnership agreement without having a superintendent and the state expectations. The voters voted for us in November 3 years ago and last year to represent the taxpayers. They voted on us on our best of the ability to make the wisest decisions. If we've hosted town halls and we did information, we can chew gum and talk at the same time, and dragging this process out is too long. And I think we as a board need to make a decision what we're going to do.
Thank you, Vice President Bowens. Are there any additional comments from the Board of Education?
Absolutely.
You have the floor, Treasurer Craig.
I think one of our norms is no surprises at the board table. One thing that I'm struggling with after sitting here for about 43 minutes is how these conversations are interchangeable. So the comment is superintendent search, the agenda topic. How we're getting everywhere else, I'm not sure. I think this is clean cut, and we have to admit that we've dropped the ball somewhere, right? And so in that, people make mistakes. Now, whether it's political, whether it's intentional, whether it's a violation of some partnership agreement or state law, I think that's all subjective. I think we have a board policy. Well, I know that we have a board policy, and we have one job as a board. And that one job is to hire and maintain a qualified superintendent. Now, that does not mean it has to be a person that was named, a person that's sitting in the seat, a person that used to sit in the seat, or a person that wants to sit in the seat. It simply means we need to have one, right? And so it is our due diligence to identify what that process is and then follow the process. So if we've identified a process, which we did, we started having a conversation in March, and we've identified a tentative process that we'll follow. So we didn't do the survey, and we promised that. And I think we owe that to our community because we promised that. Now, as far as this timeline and what we need to do and being pressured by time, I'm not really interested in that. I'm more interested in us making promises and keeping the promises. People are watching, you know, our children deserve it, our staff deserve it, our superintendent and that's in the interim seat deserves it. So whatever it is, whomever we pick, I think we need to stick to our word, follow the process that we've outlined and do what we need to do. I don't think we need to be pressured by different, you know, things that come up due to emotions. Thank you.
Thank you, Treasurer Creighton. You had your comment planned out perfectly as it relates to timing.
I didn't, but you
It
know,
just had
the
naturally
spirit
happened.
kind of leads me sometimes.
Are there any other, Secretary Triplett?
You know, I sit here and I listen to, you know, comments, accusations, things that people, you know, that just love Ben Harbor so much. You know, just really, really love our kids. Really, 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 really love our school. Really genuinely here to save our community. And statements being made that really are not true. In many instances, as Treasurer Creighton stated, you know, there have been times when we have dropped the ball. But there's been times when you have dropped the ball. The good thing about this ball drop is that I do believe we have 7 people who sit on this board who are dedicated to the work, regardless of whether or not we agree with one another ways, tactic, what have you. I have confidence in all of our board members. It has been frustrating to me because we have so many outside distractions. And it has kept us up in the air. I'm gonna speak for myself, I'm not gonna speak for the board, but it's just so much that's just out there, you know, and to sit in this seat and not be able to respond. You know, people come to the meeting, you know, glaring at you, those kind of things. That's a part of the work, and then play victim. You know, but we're here working. We are very, very serious. I don't think I'm the only one, but I know there's nothing nobody can say in this whole entire community about Ronaldo's triplets, commitment and dedication to Ben Harbor area schools. I want to like the kids, period. Thank you. Nobody.
Thank you, Secretary Triplett, and I appreciate everyone sticking to the hard 2-minute timeline. This is absolutely amazing. Are there any additional comments from the board?
President Robinson, if there's no other board member, I would like to say something.
Okay, so I'd like to see if there's anyone else that has a comment. If not.
Absolutely.
No. Okay, Trustee Gavin.
So may we have a brief recess to review this document to see if this is something that we need to move on as a board? Being that we just got it and I asked for it a long time ago, but being that we're all here, may we have a brief recess to review it to see if it's something that we need to move on as a board in order to move forward and get this out to the public.
Are there any objections for a brief, maybe 5-minute recess? All right, hearing none, I'll call for a brief recess.
Thank you.
Are you all opposed to 10 minutes? We can keep it short and we can do 10 minutes. So we'll call for a brief recess. 6:49 now. We'll come back at 7.
Thank you.
With the email.
All right, so we'll return to our conversation. Individuals have had an opportunity to review the survey. I'll open and see if I think everyone had an opportunity to speak. I'm sorry, Trustee Rocket Martin.
I don't know.
And can you ensure that you Speaking to the mic.
Yes. First of all, I would like to piggyback on what Mr. Triplett said. We have to remain focused on the board work and any distractions we can't afford to focus on. The other thing I would like to do, I would like to make a motion to make Dr. Kevin Butts permanent superintendent for 2 years or 1 year pending contract negotiations.
Okay, so trustee Rocket Martin, you are wanting a motion to make Dr. Butts the permanent superintendent? At this particular time, the agenda does say superintendent search, and that is the topic. But there's not technically a motion that's on the floor or a motion on there. So are you asking to amend the agenda for that motion?
Yes.
All right. So trustee Rocket Martin has made a motion to amend the agenda because she would like to make a motion. And can you please restate your motion that you're wanting us to take a vote on?
I would like to make a motion to make Dr. Kevin Butts permanent superintendent.
Point of order, that's not a motion to amend the agenda. You have to, if you're asking to amend the agenda, you have to say what you're asking to be amended.
Correct. So she's attempting to amend the agenda, but I want to ensure everyone is aware of what she's wanting the motion to state within the amendment. So we'll take a vote for the amendment of the agenda, and then we'll have to come back and take a vote for the actual motion.
I have a question.
Secretary Triplett.
So for me, this seems like it's out of, when we look at this, you were talking about having an opportunity to go and look at the superintendent selection process. And what have you said, everybody had an opportunity to go through and look at this. Are we going to have any opportunity to discuss any of this?
We can still continue the conversation. I think she was asking for an amendment to the agenda.
I have a question. Is trustee Robinson asking to amend the agenda to add another item? Because that's not a search. So is she asking now to end the search? Like, is she asking to scratch the superintendent search from the agenda and now add a contract to the agenda?
What I believe is I don't want to misquote you.
So don't, point of order.
So you are asking for an amendment to the agenda, and can you restate what your amendment is for?
Okay. I want to make a motion to make Dr. Kevin Butts permanent superintendent for 1 year pending contract negotiations.
Okay, so
Yes.
she is wanting to add an item, which would be a vote.
Add an item to the agenda.
Correct.
Okay.
Is there a second or?
Just a
ahead.
quick question. We haven't even finished discussing this item. So if she does that, will we now not have the conversation about the search?
No, that's what Secretary Triplett just asked. So we wouldn't have to end this conversation. She's just asking for an amendment. And do you know where you want your would want your motion placed? Is it directly under superintendent search or because you need to
Yes,
let,
please.
okay.
Right under superintendent search.
Okay, so trustee Rocket Martin has made her motion to amend the agenda. Is there a second or support?
President Robinson, I would like to table that item. We don't have a contract before us. We haven't done an evaluation on the agenda, on the superintendent. This is very premature to be talking about hiring somebody for 2 years, and we have not even evaluated him or even knew that this would be on the agenda.
So right now,
Table
I
that.
support the table.
okay, so for point of clarification, there's nothing to table at this particular time because she's just asked to make an amendment to the agenda for her item to be placed on there for vote. So we are just seeing if the agenda will be amended in that fashion. And so we can't necessarily table the request for amendment. If the amendment is not supported, then it just doesn't get added. If it is, it gets added. And then if you all want to choose to table it, you can. But right now she's requesting to amend the agenda. And so I'll ask, is there a support of trustee Rocket Martin's requested amendment of the agenda? All right, so hearing that there was no support received for that, your amendment will not take place. And we can proceed with the superintendent search conversation. Secretary Triplett, did you have feedback regarding the survey? I know you were the first one to ask.
No, I was just looking at it. I just really wanted us to be able to at least have this conversation, you know, before the public. And then after we had the conversation, then, you know, how will we move forward? 'Cause I think we owe it to our colleague and the public and also to our interim superintendent for this type of discussion to go forth at this table.
Okay, so did you have any feedback or was there something, or I can pass to Gavin if she had feedback?
Madam President,
Treasurer Creighton?
I just have a question. Are we able to pull up our minutes from the meeting in which we discussed this process? Was that in March or April? Are you able to check? Okay, you can stop projecting if you don't mind. If you can check for us, please, while they're having a discussion. Thank you.
President Robinson,
Trustee Gavin?
would you mind, I don't know if it's a point of question, I don't know what it's called, but would you mind sharing with us what your concern was about this survey?
It seemed like it was too lengthy as far as the amount of information that it was providing. I didn't know whether or not it would defer people from the actual questions that were being asked. Also, can we get that duplicate sound? Muted or something? It's throwing me off. My apologies. I don't know where it came from. One thing that I found is when you want to be able to receive feedback from individuals, you have to make sure that you're not giving them too much information up front, because sometimes it takes away from the actual questions that you're asking. One of the concerns that I had that it was asking about a previously generated superintendent search or a new superintendent search profile, not knowing if individuals had even seen the previously generated superintendent search and how to actually embed that into the document. And then majority of the people that spoke to us at the meeting that month, a lot of them indicated that they felt that they trusted the leadership that we had. And so these particular questions have internal search with previously generated superintendent. I can't read the whole thing because I'm on the cell phone and it doesn't expand. An internal search with a new profile, an external search with the new profile, but then it seems as though the option of selecting the superintendent, I wasn't sure if that was something that we should keep, if that would be part of the internal search. So it was just many questions. It just didn't seem right. Seems like there was information missing, too much information. The questions might have needed to be restructured.
With that said, President Robinson, may I? If no one else has.
Go ahead.
So from the conversation that we had before, it seems to me that the only issue on here is that the document says with previously has language that discusses a generated superintendent profile. So to keep it simple, it's one option, an internal search, and then with the language that says applicants must be a current employee of Benton Harbor Area Schools. Do not search or keep the superintendent that we have, or an external search, which would be the third option, with a new superintendent. An external search posting would additionally be available to external candidates constituting a statewide and or national search. So all we would need to do is eliminate the language that discusses what type of profile, an internal search, keep the interim superintendent, or do an external search. And with that, I believe that this document is ready to go. And, and of course, adjust for the dates because it's no longer May 8th. But with those changes, I would like to move that we put this superintendent. Okay.
Is she there?
Do we watch TV at work?
Trustee Gavin, do you have any input on the upper language? You don't find it too wordy?
The other language that says applicants must be a current employee of Benton Harbor Area Schools?
No, the opening information. Like the full paragraph before.
It's just extra information. I think it's just information that provides, that lets people know what happened and gives them a link to the presentation. And I'm all for giving folks information. I would recommend that the only thing that we change is update the dates, give people, 3 to 7 days to respond publicly, and remove the additional information that speaks to the type of profile, and include the option to keep the interim superintendent. And
Thank
I would
you.
like, to know what my colleagues think about that, if possible, through the chair.
Secretary Triple, you look like you're getting ready to speak, but can you pull up to the mic?
Yes, I'm looking at this and I'm first of all, I'm glad that we're able to have this conversation in the spirit of transparency. As Trustee Creighton, Treasurer Creighton stated, it's some things, and when you look at this document, I didn't have the clarification as related to like, it just wasn't specific enough for me. Would we want to do an internal search, and that internal search would be current employees of the district. There was, I thought that there was going to be, would we, after the people who came and we heard the voice of the community, I don't see anything on there that would specifically say, will we be interested in continuing and keeping our interim superintendent? So there's nothing there that says that this, and so when you say internal search with a new superintendent profile, I mean, posting would continue to be internal, but input from staff and community members would be used to establish a new profile of the ideal candidate. So what do they mean internal? When you say internal, you're talking about in the community of Benton Harbor, because I know Trustee Gavin had said, had stated that there are people in the community that, might be interested or different things like that. So I do understand how this wording and the work we probably needed some more work on this particular document. And then just the thing that says external search. Do we want, that's the third. So there's nothing on here, because my understanding is there would be something on here to say, how many people, do you want to keep our interim superintendent? Because the voices that came in the room, the majority of them said that they did support keeping our interim superintendent.
Madam President,
Treasurer Creighton?
I guess what I'm kind of confused and disappointed about is that we committed to having a meeting to go over this. And I think that's the part that I'm just like, did we drop the ball, or admitting we dropped the ball, because we've not done that. And so are we agreeing that we're going to, because I know we've agreed once that we're going to do this survey, and obviously the first survey will give us good data, because ultimately we'll make the decision. But I think the survey is not a negative thing. It's definitely a positive thing to get good data and feedback on what it is that we're honestly looking for. Since I've been on this board 2.5 years, I've not been a part of the process. And again, I pulled the policy up, and that's one of our major and main goals and roles as board members. And so again, I agree with the other comments from Secretary Triplett and also Trustee Gavin. I guess I'm just adding and reiterating that I would feel comfortable moving forward with some kind of agreed upon process, and then definitely giving our interim superintendent an opportunity to definitely apply. And I think it'll help us create working agreements, expectations, and also new goals moving forward. So I don't look at this thing as being a bad or punitive thing, and I think we've been avoiding it. But I think it's something that we have to do, right? It's kind of like the way I keep thinking about this thing as like a relationship. And we've had the opportunity to date, and now, and we've been engaged, but we've not set a wedding date, right? Or a date to get married. And so I guess that's where I am with it. I'm not necessarily looking at this as like a breakup or an opportunity to break up, but definitely an opportunity to move forward with clear expectations, guidelines, and essential working agreements.
Thank you, Treasurer Creighton. Secretary Triplett.
I think that we also need to make sure that we are within the guidelines and the parameters in alignment with the state and what's required as of the 30th of June. So I think that that's some information that we have, and we do have a meeting Thursday. A budget meeting Thursday.
Do we have that? Because I've never heard of this guideline. So is that
Yeah.
something that you guys can forward on? Because it seems like certain people got this
But
information.
I just want to finish what I'm saying.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay,
But
that's all right.
I,
That's all right.
you
We-
paused.
we
I'm
good.
sorry.
I did. I'm trying to pause to get my thoughts together.
Okay.
I definitely want to be clear on that, but I also want to put out there, you know, that I think that our interim superintendent has been absolutely amazing. When we were left high and dry, he transitioned in so smooth. I just hope that our personal or our, whatever it is that we have, we could take a look at the entire picture, the picture in its entirety. And when we look at some of the things that have happened as a result of him being in that office, I really honestly believe that the good outweighs the bad, but I definitely want all of us to feel comfortable and inclusive, because people are waiting for this big blow up. They want, I don't know, I haven't seen the news media here in some time now, so evidently somebody said something was getting ready to go down and was getting ready to be a big showdown and all of this right here, because we've had so many wonderful things happening in our school, and the newspaper, nobody made it here. So I think that this board is intelligent enough. And I have all the confidence in my colleagues. And I am so grateful that we have Thursday to finalize and move in whatever way and have an opportunity to look at this completely. And when we come before this table, I will be able to make my decision with confidence, with no fear of anything as it relates to Benton Harbor area schools and the students. So, Madam President, I was wondering, I really don't do this often, but I was wondering, I would like to put a motion on the floor that we table this discussion as it relates to the superintendent search to give our board members an opportunity to look at what it is that we really, really need to do to take care of the business for Benton Harbor area schools and ensure that okay, that's a long motion.
I ain't got lost. I was trying to listen.
Okay, I would like to put a motion on the floor that we table this discussion right now, do our due diligence and our investigation on what's truly expected of the Board of Education by the 30th of June. What has to happen, and we need to get that done expeditiously to the board, and then we can go forward. I think everybody will weigh that out. Okay.
I forgot the resolution that you were saying, the motion.
His motion in
I'm
The
gonna
shortest-
support and
shortest way possible.
after it's support is no discussion. So
I'm
Madam
sorry.
President, I would like to support.
Trustee so
Question.
to allow me, no, we're gonna allow me to chair. Secretary Triplett made a motion to table. Treasurer Creighton is supporting the motion, but I think that Trustee Bowens is wanting to fully understand what the motion is before he places his vote. So I'll ask one last time if Secretary Triplett will restate what he is asking that we do, so everyone can be knowledgeable and informed when they vote.
Madam President. Keep it simple, stupid. I would like to make a motion that we table this discussion of the superintendent search tonight to give our colleague an opportunity to be informed on what it is that needs to happen as it relates to us having or not having a superintendent by that deadline, which is contract in June the 30th.
Madam
And Treasurer
President,
Creighton has supported.
Nope, as a
Okay.
point of clarity,
Yeah.
I do have a question as well before I make my support and also vote. I guess I'm wondering where are we gonna get this information, this follow-up information?
So I can search my email, but we received this clarification previously when our superintendent was transitioning out. And I don't remember if it was something that was printed for the board or if it was something that would emailed. So it was emailed. So I have to look and go find it and I can forward that to everyone.
Madam President?
Question?
Treasurer Creighton.
So I'm asking, may I ask Mr. Triplett to potentially revise his motion? Because I think we need some kind of professional opinion or something, because we're to table this, which I don't disagree, but to table this and then to just show up and we're just here and we don't have the information. How are we going to ensure that we have this information before this June 30th deadline is, I guess, my question.
I got it.
Okay, so right now we have a table on the floor. And what I understand the need, what the board is essentially wanting to do is discuss the table and there's no
President
discussion.
Robinson, I
on
need
the
clarity
table.
on the date in which Secretary Triplett is asking for this to be tabled until. I didn't understand.
Okay, I can restate it. I would like to make a motion to table this discussion on the superintendent search until Thursday, June the 29th at our next meeting. Once we received advice from our attorney.
Okay, and I just located the email. I forwarded it to the previous board last year. So I will forward it.
President Robinson.
1 second, Liz.
I'm still waiting on my information. You have it?
She emailed it already.
Thank you.
Secretary Triplett, I'm sorry, I was digging in the emails. Did you clarify Gavin's question?
There's a motion on the floor.
I missed whether you answered her question with the
Think
date.
so? Yeah, I got me
Okay.
confused, yeah.
All right, so the motion has been made by Secretary Triplett and supported by Treasurer Creighton. There's no communication allowed when when an item is being tabled.
I didn't retable the new motion, Madam President.
I'm sorry.
We were waiting to hear what it is so that we'll know our action item that
Yeah,
we're
but-
voting on. We were asking questions to get clarity on, okay, what's the date that we're tabling this until?
I
What
think
are the
he
guidelines?
answered that question.
Oh,
And I emailed the
did.
guideline.
Yeah, I said June the 29th. My motion, if everybody complete, I'm making a motion. If y'all can get our job.
it's a fumble.
Shit. I tried to do what Trustee Gavin asked of me. What Treasurer Creighton asked of me. I would like to make a motion that we table this superintendent search discussion until Thursday, June the 29th. Once we have received guidance and information from our attorney.
Is there a second or support?
Support.
The motion has been made by Secretary Triplett and supported by Trustee Bowens. Secretary Triplett, can you please call the vote for tabling of the superintendent search discussion item?
President Robinson,
No.
Vice President Bowens,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Treasurer Creighton.
No.
Wait a minute, let me get to my sheet. Trustee Rocket Martin. No. Trustee Doyle,
No.
Trustee Gavin,
No.
The motion failed.
Sorry, your motion failed, Secretary Triplett.
It's not personal.
Madam President,
You have the floor, Treasurer Craig.
so are we still discussing superintendent search?
We are still under superintendent search.
So cause I thought the meeting that she sent me was the retreat, which is not what I requested. I wanted to talk about it when we discussed it as a full board, to actually hear about when we initially talked about it on the agenda, what do we define and say that we were gonna do? That's all I want to do is what we agreed on that night that we would do, and move forward. Obviously, I would love to support the table, but it was just unclear, Secretary Triplett, as to if we table it, what is the process gonna look like? Cause I'm hearing that our hands are pretty much tied before this June 30th date, and I think this is why we talked about it before in March, so that we can kind of define the process. And obviously, we're here, and I'm not gonna, like point fingers or blame. I'm just saying, can we agree that we need to make a decision on what this is gonna look like over the next few days so that we can move forward without, turning this into something else? I think, it's an elephant that's definitely in the room that we're all avoiding or kind of trying to, let out the door in different ways and it getting stuck. So I just want to, get some clarity on what is it that our board would like to do to move forward with the search. So now if that means to not do a search, or what, like, I'm just not understanding. When I see search, I'm not, putting it into the same category with our current superintendent. I think, he has done more than he could to make sure that he shows us that he's committed. So I'm able to separate the two and to just, I think we keep, putting it together, and I think we definitely need to separate it. And so if we do decide that that's going to be the process, then we can move forward with what we need to do. But I think we keep getting stuck on the process and we're merging and marrying the two. And so I think that's why I'm so confused, or, so if somebody can provide some clarity on what is it that we actually want to do? Because I thought we talked about that at the March or April meeting. We talked about what this process is going to look like. And that's where I think we dropped the ball. It's just not doing what we said we were going to do.
Trustee Gavin.
Thank you so much. Okay, so I wait on the clock. I looked at the language during that recess and I adjusted the language and simplified the language, and I submitted that to Liz. And what I'm wondering, in the interest of time, it's on the agenda. If this language is something that the board can agree on, it's what we already agreed on. But if this language, if Liz would be able to send this to everyone and we can vote on this recommended superintendent search survey language, that would be my recommendation. If we legally have to deal with contracts, then that's a separate issue. And I asked that the lawyer be here too, so hopefully next time we will have access. But to keep it simple, I would like to make a motion. I would like you all to see it, but I'll read it.
It's been forwarded to everyone.
Okay, perfect. I don't know if folks need a couple minutes to read it. But this is what we discussed at the last superintendent search town hall or whatever. And I would like to make a motion that we approve the recommended superintendent search survey language that I submitted, and that it go out to the public within 24 to 48 hours, and that they have 7 days to respond, and that we all have access to those responses to inform our future decision.
Okay, so Trustee Gavin, similar to Trustee Rocket Martin, if you're wanting to place
It's on the agenda. Sorry. for
You're wanting
cutting
to
you
place
off.
a motion for a vote that's not on the agenda. So if you want to place a vote on the agenda, then you would need to request an amendment to the agenda for that vote.
Good deal. I would like to request an amendment to the agenda to include the recommended superintendent search survey language for a vote.
Support, where's the language?
It's in your email.
I don't have it.
How did you get it, trustee Gavin?
I created it.
No, I'm saying you didn't get, but
And
you
I
saw
sent
the
it to-
original, right?
That's what I was saying. I created it while we were talking.
No, I'm
And I
saying
sent
that you
it
get
to
my
Liz.
email
I did get your
and
email
you can see it.
and then I simplified
And trust, and
it based on.
yeah, trustee, what I'm trying to get to is trustee Gavin and secretary Triplett have both received the survey. They can access it.
We got the survey, but what I am understanding is she created her own wording. And that's what you guys are wanting, she's wanting us to vote on.
Oh, so you all are asking for what she has.
Right, it's putting a motion on the floor, but
Yeah.
we haven't read nothing or anything. It's-
Yeah, I thought that it was a miscommunication, President Robinson. I thought you said that everybody had it.
Yeah, I was
That's what
meaning the original survey language. I didn't know that you had created your own document.
Well, I didn't create my own. I just deleted the confusing language and made it clear. And I shared it with Liz. And if she's able to share it with the board to review. We've already talked about it.
I don't know.
Trustee Gavin, with this language that you have, you would be keeping the original wording of the survey? That's my clarification, like the background information. Are you wanting that or no? Are you presenting it just as it is simplified without the background information?
Can it be read?
Yeah, it's very simple. How would you like to see the Board of Education proceed with the available superintendent search options? 1, an internal search. In parentheses, applicants must be a current employee of Benton Harbor Area Schools. 2, do not further the superintendent search, hire the interim superintendent. 3, external search. In parentheses, posting would additionally be available to external candidates constituting a statewide and/or national search, close parentheses. Next question, do you have any additional comments in regards to the superintendent selection process? Next sentence, all comments will be confidential and will be presented as aggregate data in a future board meeting. Pretty straightforward.
Okay, so trustee Gavin has asked for an amendment to the agenda to allow us to vote on the superintendent search survey language that she has read and emailed to the board. Is there a second or support?
I second.
The motion has been made by trustee Gavin and supported by trustee Doyle. Any additional questions or comments on that motion to amend the agenda?
Madam President, I would like to know what would that do for the time that we need a superintendent? 7 days is past July 1st. If we don't have a superintendent in place as of July 1st, we will no longer be a school district, period. So what would that look like with our interim superintendent? What are our alternatives? What can we do?
Do I answer that or she just talked?
So I can respond to the question, an alternative. So in theory, what you're asking is if we shoot out the survey and we give 7 days, being that it is the 27th of the month, and that puts us beyond the 30th, then what do we do to secure superintendent through that process? There's always an option to extend the current superintendent contract if that's something that the interim superintendent, like you could do an addendum to the current contract to extend it through a particular period of time to allow us to get the survey information and the data back.
I'm not against the survey. I think it's a wonderful idea, but I also do not want to see our district dissolve as a school district.
Madam President,
You have the floor, Treasurer Creighton.
I'm not sure where to dissolve. come from, because I did read the legal opinion, and I'm not gonna read it because it was the legal opinion, but I just want to remind board members to just be careful of, not stating factual information, in these public meetings.
Any additional comments before we go to trustee Gavin's amendment?
Yes, the additional comments is everybody, everybody's here doing their thing and what have you. That's why I asked for us to have an opportunity to table this so we have an attorney. And we can get the legal opinion from the attorney. And so that we will all be clear, because I am ready to put a motion on the floor,
Madam President?
but I'm
I'm gonna
still.
allow Secretary
Sorry,
to
I'm
continue his comment.
Yo,
I'm
please.
so sorry. Seriously, when you pause, I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I promise I'm
I
sorry.
want us to have an opportunity to be able to have the discussion that we're having right now. This is good conversation. Okay, so that's why I wanted us to be able to contact our attorney so that Thursday we will be able to make a decision that's going to be good for Ben Harbor Area School. All this other stuff, smirks, room, all that, I ain't got time for all that stuff. I'm just saying, I'm trying to give everybody an opportunity, all of us, to go forth and do what we gotta do. When we get ready to do what it is that needs to be done for our school district, in the best interest of the school district, that's what I want. I would like for us to table this, talk to our attorney, and come back Thursday and make a decision on how we're going to move forward. So everybody can have the clarification. Just because the person say it doesn't mean that it's so. Just because they don't agree that everything that they say and do is right. We have to stop that. That don't bother me. It doesn't bother me because we've been on this board for a long time. Everybody in here got some good sense. Just no one or two people. Trust and believe me. And I'm not no politic nor a politrick. Period.
Madam President,
Trustee Doyle.
my question is, if we go ahead and accept the language changes that trustee Gavin has suggested, and we put this out, that doesn't mean that we are going to replace Dr. Butts. That just means we're just going to see what our people want, right?
So the superintendent search simply gives the community to give us additional feedback on what they want.
Okay, okay.
Yep.
So I'm not understanding why we can't move forth on the updated language.
All right, so at this particular time, I'm just pausing because I tried to keep us to 2 minutes per trustee per topic, but I know some conversation topics do require additional feedback. And in this particular situation, certain statements or comments are prompting other feedback and comments. So of course, grace is needed at this particular time, but I do want us to move forward with our agenda because I made a promise to you all that I've already broken because it's 7:42. But we have to ensure the business gets handled. So at this particular time, there's a motion on the floor for the language of the survey that trustee Gavin sent out. And a motion was made by trustee Gavin and supported by, was it trustee Doyle?
Yes.
Supported by trustee Doyle. Secretary Triplett, can you please call the vote?
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowens,
No.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Treasurer Creighton,
Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin,
Yes.
Trustee Doyle,
Yes.
Trustee Gavin,
Yes.
motion carried.
All right, so we have the language of the survey.
Good job.
Thank you, because my mind was tangled up on that and just didn't couldn't determine what was right. So thank you. I appreciate the simplification
Yeah.
of the survey. It just was a bit too much for me. So that was the amendment of the agenda. I'm sorry. For the vote. So now, Trustee Gavin, you can essentially put your motion on the floor so we can actually do the vote on the survey.
Trustee Robinson, I move that the Board of Education accept the recommended superintendent search survey language and that language be provided to the public for submission within 24 to 48 hours from today.
Is there a second or support?
Second.
The motion has been made by Trustee Gavin and supported by Trustee Doyle. I do not believe there's any additional questions, comments, or concerns because we've had quite a few. Secretary Triplett, you have a comment? You have the floor.
Yes, with I supported it because with the survey, the language. And so this was saying with her motion saying, if this survey go out, if we do get to this portion of the survey going out to the community and whatever, this is the language that we will use. I just wanted to be clear that I am not voting for this to negate any other legal things that must be honored by this Board of Education once we talk to our attorney. I don't want to say I support this and then when it happens, our attorney say this has to happen. Then it say, well, Secretary Triplett said no, because I'm going to clap back. So just make sure that we are clear on what it is that we're doing. I want some clarification on what it is that we're doing. The language is a language that I think that we need. I appreciate it. Trustee Gap, it's just clear to me, point blank. We want to do an internal, we want to do our interim, and do we want to do an external? And that's it. I'm with that.
Right.
Thank you.
Vice President Bowen.
So if I'm correct, this survey will be going out within the next 24 hours.
Correct. She's created the language, so there's nothing additional for me to fret over and not know what's right or wrong or how it should go. So essentially, because she's already forwarded to Liz, if you could forward it to Paul, if it passes for the vote, then Paul, is Mr. Corson working tomorrow? Bud, you have the ability to send out a survey on behalf of the district through the Facebook and other channels, website and things like that? Okay. Does that answer your question, Trustee Bowen? So we could essentially get this out tomorrow.
Okay.
All right, Secretary,
And we can assure it's a one-to-one vote. One person for each. I mean, that is fair across the board. Nobody can vote 5 times and send it in. One-to-one.
that would be a course in question. Unfortunately, he's not present, but I would think that there's something that he can do to, a lot of times surveys will only accept, they recognize the device that you are trying to do it from. That would be more so a course in question, and I don't want to give misinformation.
Can he talk?
Well, we couldn't call him. I mean, unless,
I didn't know if he was incapacitated.
Okay, Secretary Triplett,
President Robinson,
yes.
Vice President Bowen,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Treasurer Creighton.
Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Doyle.
Yes.
Trustee Gavin.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, thank you, Secretary Triplett.
Good news.
So we have a meeting on, we have a meeting for a budget hearing on Thursday, which is the 29th. So I'm making a informal announcement of that right now. Just want to ensure that the public that's present knows that we're having a budget hearing because that's the next meeting that we have. And essentially, just for you all's information, we're going to be going over the upcoming fiscal year school budget. The agenda is already online. You all can take a look, see if there's anything that you think we should amend or adjust. There's an opportunity for you to give us comments before the meeting, comments on agenda items, an opportunity for you to have question and answers during the presentation for the budget, and then also for you to give us a wrap-up comment at the end. So you all are welcome to attend that, and that is the meeting that Secretary Triplett is referencing for Thursday. So you all are the survey is being requested to be sent out. And then what has been requested as well is a legal opinion from our attorney, which I will get Gardner on the line for that. But I just want to make sure that you all have the point of reference that that's the 29th and the 30th is the day after. And I just want to make sure everybody is aware that you'll be coming in. I'll try to see if I can get the opinion tomorrow. I'm not sure what his schedule is, so you all can have it, but I just want to make sure everyone is cognizant of the time frame and where we are. And again, thank you all for help with the search information. One thing that I will say, and Secretary Triplett has gotten on me about this, is a lot of times I will carry certain things on my back and allow it to marinate and stress. Sometimes it's hard for me to ask for help. So I just want to say graciously that I appreciate you all in providing that feedback and the help with simplifying it, because it was just too much for me and I didn't think it really accomplished what we were attempting to get back. So thank you all for that. Next item on the agenda is boiler replacement. I believe we didn't have any presentation or anything specific for this. This meeting, just as a point of clarification, was a follow-up to a previous meeting that we had that went over. So we basically recessed that meeting and couldn't find a date within the last week or two that worked for everyone. And this was the first time that we were able to reconvene. So you all are aware there's items that are on here. And then Trustee Gavin requested, superintendent search was already one of the continuing items, but Trustee Gavin asked that boiler replacement be added to this agenda, being that we were meeting. So because it was her particular request, I'll open up the floor to her to see if there was a comment that she would like to make, or if there was a question that she had, and then we can kind of go through the update, and then I'll defer, in the absence of Mr. Corson, to the superintendent or the facilities chair to respond to those questions as they deem fit, or kind of lead that conversation. Trustee Gavin.
Thank you so much. You said the facilities chair?
Which would be Secretary Triplett. So Chief
you're
Corson
talking
is
about
absent.
committee. Okay.
So, and most often the chiefs respond. So in Chief Corson's absence, I'd ask that either Dr. Butts or the chair of the facilities committee answer the questions as needed.
Okay, thank you so much, President Robinson. So I've submitted a document to Dr. Butts requesting kind of some information about the boilers. We have been asking for a timeline and an update as to where we are with the boiler replacement process. There is some confusion because on multiple occasions, we've asked where summer school would be held. And initially, I was under the impression that the administration was working on moving summer school, possibly moving summer school to another building so that the high school can be, can be free for construction to take place. I guess my question is, from Dr. Butts, would have been great to have some information before we got here, but that's okay. What is the timeline in terms of what has gotten accomplished? What phase of the project are we at? How much time are you thinking, this would take? And then also, of course, why are our students placed at the high school when they could have been placed at Fairplain Junior High? Those are my questions.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to defer the floor to Secretary Triplett.
Okay.
Okay, to my colleague as chairman of the facility committee,
And I'm sorry, I have to step out for a second. So I'll ask if the conversation, if you have to pass the mic, if Vice President Bowens can step in for me, I have to use.
As chairman,
Okay, so Dr. Bus is not gonna answer any of these questions?
oh, yes.
Okay, okay,
But
good.
I want to give you some
Okay.
clarification.
Can you talk in the
Okay.
mic, please?
Yes, I wanted to give you some clarification because what he's saying, what he's probably going to say is going to be the same thing I said as chairman of the facilities committee. I want this, first of all, I want the community and my colleagues to know that we are working diligently. We are sitting in this building right now. We are not in danger of the school blowing up. Okay, that is not the case. So we need to be clear on that. We have outdated boilers and what have you. We have been working in our facilities committee. This is the reason that the summer school was not changed to Fairplane. That was just a conversation we asked if they could start, if the timeline said that they could do this work in the summer, then it would, would be good. Why wouldn't we just take the students have, she and I both agreed on that. Why wouldn't they just have the summer school at Fairplane versus, them being here and then having to break up and move? Once we got the information and knowledge brought to us of what it is going to entail, the work that has to be done, the engineering work that has to be done. So the engineers are going to have to come in. It's not just, I get home, we're gonna go take our boiler out of the house, and we're gonna change our boiler. This is a completely different process. This process is going to have engineers that's the first phase of it. Engineers have to come in and they will be in during the school year. They will, once we bring this to the Board of Education to say that we've identified who's going to do this work, the engineers will start immediately. Now, it was brought to us that it would take the engineers, it could take anywhere from 4 to 6 months for this process to happen. You can't just take this boiler out. Okay, there is a process so they can work while the kids are in school. So we right now, as a committee, we are saying, can this happen quicker? We've also discussed alternatives and options for once they get this engineering component, that's the first phase of it. And when it gets done, what other options do we have? So in our facilities committee, we have talked about, because it's not going to happen this summer. It's not going to be done. But we, as one of our citizens came to the mic and asked questions and shared things with us, there are still things that can be done to maintain and sustain until we are able to take these completely out. You can't just rush the process. That's when you're going to put the student and the community in danger. So, that's one of the pieces where we are. And I just got this information myself from our facility meeting and our conversation. So what the steps that go through it will take to totally replace. It's a process. But in the meantime, we have things that we will have to have in place that are going to have to happen this summer to ensure that these things, that people are in place, that we have the correct engineers, we have the correct technicians and things, and the way in which we service and do these on a regular basis, then those things we put in place, but it will not happen this summer. Okay, so you can, yes, no, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Secretary Triplett. So if it wasn't gonna happen this summer, that would have been great to know a long time ago. I guess I'm wondering what, it would have been, I'm a visual person. And so some type of visual aid in terms of the phases of the project and the status of the project, from this caliber of administration would have been very helpful for everybody. I'm under the understanding that Benton Harbor School secured the architect engineer firm about a month and a half ago. No, They never secured a engineering firm, GMB.
I'll let Dr. Butts.
We've been in talks with GMB and we've got to bring them to the facilities committee. So we've been trying to schedule a meeting with the facilities committee so that they can present as to where they are and the timeline of the process.
So you're in talks with them so they can present where they are. Does that mean that we are working with them? I just want clarity, like, so a fifth grader could understand.
At this point,
Do
we
we-
are working with them, but it will be up to the facilities chair to see if the facilities chair and the facilities committee to see if we want to proceed with this company, this A&E firm, or any other A&E firms. And so in the meantime, we are vetting several other companies in case this facilities committee wants to go with another firm that has a better offer or different timeline.
And this was the thing with this company. And when they said it'll take 5 to 6 months for the engineering work, and they have a lot to do. They got to remap, restructure. This is all this in the ground, pipings and everything. So as a facility committee, just like, in our policy meeting, there's the things that we had to go back and research and do the things before we bring it to the board. So before we bring it before this Board of Education for confirmation, the question at the table right now is, we need to see if there's someone who can do this quicker. 6 months is too long. Can this process of identifying the engineers is 6 months? Because what we're not going to do, we're not going to be milked out of money just because we have money. We're going to make a decision that is fiscally responsible. We're also going to make a decision that when we get through with it, that this is done, because we're going to do this one time and one time only. So we're not going to, that's what it is, trustee Gavin.
I guess what I'm not understanding is why, when did GMB indicate that it would take 5 to 6 months for them to draw up the plans? And I'm wondering why that information was not shared with the full board.
Vice President Bowens. Can I have the floor to
Yes.
respond?
Madam, Chairman?
I mean, right now she's talking to the chairman, okay, of the facility and the superintendent. This is the thing right here. Again, it is a process. It is a process. We have vetted and done everything with the state. We are within the guidelines of the state because the procurement process. Go ahead. We need no help with those things. Go ahead. I can help you. Y'all go ahead. Y'all know you young people, y'all know.
Thank you, Secretary Tripoli. I was just as a member of your committee, I appreciate your leadership. I do. And I appreciate you for inviting Clark Hill to come to give us this information about the procurements. And we did learn a whole lot about the process. So I'm very familiar with the process. And but one of the things that I was not aware of is how complicated and complex this project is. And so as we moved forward and I was like Trustee Gavin, where I wanted to move forward expeditiously. My son's school did announce that they were getting the boilers, and when I spoke to someone there, they said they started the process and conversation back in December. And so they had a whole plan mapped out on what they were going to do. And so when we met with Clark Hill and we talked to them in our facilities meeting that was led by Secretary Tripoli, we learned a whole lot about the process. And they too confirmed that this is about a 6 month at minimum process. And so, I asked a lot of questions, kind of like I do, to create a little turbulence and trying to see if it was some kind of loophole or something that we could do to speed up this process. So in the meantime and in between time, there are still some things that we have to do. We have to acknowledge that we have a new chief, we have an interim superintendent that's jumping in. We're absent in some other areas in which we're trying to recruit. And so knowing and playing the hand that we are being dealt, to be honest, it's so many loopholes in this process, in this old building. We have to RFP the firm. So I'm not sure why we're naming an actual firm because we've not RFP that process. So we have the RFP, the architecture or engineering firm. Please turn the timer off. Firm because it's over that 28,000, right? So we have to do that. And so the only reason why we're involved is that we do have individuals that are very new in the roles or either our superintendent that's here on the interim basis. And one thing that we still know is that, you know, he still gets to make the decisions, right? And if he chooses to not be a part of this process, we still need to be able to keep it going. So we're not micromanaging this process. We are just there all trying to learn so that we can support him and it can be full transparency on why this timeline is not moving as fast as we thought it could and should. And so I also commend him for inviting us in there so that it won't be like, oh, he's not doing this. It's a process. It's a lengthy process. You know, from the financial standpoint, it is in the budget. We have put it in there. We will hopefully vote and approve it on Thursday. I have met 3 times since our last board meeting with the finance team, along with Dr. Butts, to ensure that the money is in there. So I promise to you, Ms. Gavin, that you have my word that it's going to be in the staff report. The board is asking to support for support on Thursday. So the money is in there. We've put the money aside for the boilers. So that's one big, huge problem, right? That we've eliminated. The bigger thing now is actually navigating this process that we've not done in 75 years, right? So this is a brand new process for us. We don't have a CFO currently. And so there are some gaps in the process. So we're working with Clark Hill to help us get the RFPs out and to ensure that we're doing those things that we're supposed to do. To make sure that, you know, we are following and being in compliance with this process. It has been very difficult and frustrating for me because I thought that we would get new boilers this summer. And so I am very disappointed. However, you know, we have to move forward with the process and we can't stop the process. But I can also assure you, as a member of the finance committee, that once we secure an architectural engineering firm that'll serve as like the project manager, then we can actually create a tangible timeline on what it's going to cost. And then we can do like other districts and create a plan to move students if need be, so that we can put them and displace students in other buildings so that we can get this work done. So it's kind of like those prayers. It's not saying that it won't happen. It's just saying that we have to follow the process to ensure that we're not only, this is bigger than just having the money. This is making sure that there are architectural and engineering things in place and I's dotted and T's crossed. So I think the chair of the finance committee and also the superintendent and the student service department and everyone involved are all working really hard to try to expedite this process and this timeline. If this is a process that the entire board would like to be a part of our next planning meeting, then we can ask our facilities chair. He did mention last, I think, meeting, if we could have a meeting at home. And so that might be something that he would like to move forward with to do if it's something, you know, that he would like to do. But we've teamed up. We have the money in the budget. He is serious about it. So our finance committee made sure it's in the budget. Superintendent will come before you with the resolution on Thursday to show you the revision in the budget for our fourth quarter and also our next year's budget. And so, you know, we want this done. We know that emotions get involved, but honestly, it's a big process that we were all unsure and unclear about. So this is learning curve for all of us.
Thank you, Treasurer Creighton. Just a point of clarification. I heard you guys say that the money's in the budget. Dr. Butts, is it okay if I ask Dr. Butts?
Well, you have a hand down there.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't spoken yet either, sir. Sorry. Dr. Butts, how much are you estimating this to cost?
We have budgeted already from the sinking fund, 4 million out of the sinking fund and an additional 6 million out of ESSER 3 with some set aside funds in case there are other foreseen emergencies that we have. So far we have about approximately 10 million set aside, 10 million plus some additional funds set aside. So if we run into any other complications, we can cover those
And
expenses.
that would cover both schools.
That's covering both schools.
All right, thank you. Madam President is back and trustee Gavin had her hand up before Secretary Triplett.
Okay, and I may make a comment, so I apologize in advance if my question is a repeat or completely left based on where the conversation is. So we'll go to Gavin and then we'll go to Triplett.
Oh, okay. Thank you. So I'm a firm believer in that documentation beats conversation. And, I've spoken with some facilities directors and people who have, been involved in the process of, replacing boilers and whatnot. And, the estimate has been for Blueprint is estimate about 30 days. And I'm still not clear in terms of this firm that we're working with. Are we, whether we're working with them or whether we're thinking about working with them for 2 months, that's not clear. I guess what would be helpful for me, Dr. Butts, is did this firm submit a written proposal or estimate as to how long it would take them to draw up this blueprint? Did they submit a written estimate to your office that can be forwarded to this Board of Education?
Not prior to me going through the facilities committee.
Did they submit it? I'm asking, did they submit it? Even if you feel like you can't give it to us. And for the record, the policy committee, when we finish our meetings, we make it all of our information public to the full board. So that, and it's public as of now. So we don't hide anything. So not hiding, I'm sorry, I shouldn't use that word. That's explosive. We're transparent.
Right.
So my question is, did they submit a written estimate that it would take them 5 to 6 months to prepare a blueprint for this work?
No, ma'am. That 5 to 6 months came from the Clark Hill presentation that I also sent out to everyone.
Okay, thank you. So I reviewed that Clark Hill presentation, and in that presentation, they were talking about this 5 to 6 month process for the whole RFP and getting the work done. They weren't indicating that it would take 5 to 6 months to get a blueprint drawn up. And they also indicated that if there was an emergency and that, boilers aren't working and children are cold in the building and that's a health and safety, then we could qualify for emergency exceptions.
That's correct.
Right. And so that is the case. We're beyond the emergency situation. And I believe that we qualify for those things. And they also indicated that this Board of Education, as one voice, should indicate in a vote that this is an emergency situation so that we can expedite the process. Is that correct?
You are correct when you say an emergency situation. However, when we ask the attorney at Clark Hill, since it is the summertime, we are not considered in an emergency situation.
That's not what I heard. Now, are you saying that after the recording, you all asked that?
That
Because
was in the facilities committee.
in the recording that I heard.
Okay, so I'm
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt. So I'm gonna pause you all for a second. I know that I stepped away for a moment and I'm not sure how we were actually moving in my absence, but I would like to ensure that our conversations and discussion at the table does not feel like a hearing with consistent questions and answers. There's no one on trial here, not necessarily as it relates to Trustee Gavin, but I know Vice President Bowens kind of did the same thing to me earlier.
Every time.
So we want to make sure that we utilize our time to ask questions. I think the 2 minutes might be up, so I'll allow you to
I'm not
ask.
sure, President Robinson, because the clock is not going. So
Well,
if
I'm
we
pretty
can
sure I've
start
been
it.
back longer than 2 minutes. So I'll allow for you to finish that question, then we'll ask for Dr. Buss to respond, because I believe I interrupted a question. And then we're gonna go to Secretary Triplett for his comment.
So I'll just end with this, President Robinson. I did request multiple times that we have an attorney present at our meeting so that we're not speaking on behalf of an attorney. That information from the attorney was sent to all of us, and what is being told here is not in that video. And once again, we don't have an attorney present. So what I'm recommending to this board is that we that we move to, in one voice, indicate that this is an emergency situation.
Second,
I move that this board vote that this is an emergency, that the boiler replacement should be deemed as an emergency situation.
Secretary Triplett.
Madam
Is
President,
there a second?
I
Madam,
So are you asking to, okay, so we're gonna
Yeah.
pause for a
are we
second.
getting beefy?
What I want to make sure that everyone is
What
aware
we doing?
is that we have approved, and I'm gonna ask that everyone cease the
Like
additional
real?
conversation and side comments. We have an agenda that's set,
Too much.
and we have topics that are on our agenda. However, there are no votes on the agenda beyond the votes that are required for teaching and learning and human resources. So if at any particular point, you're putting a motion on the floor for a vote, it requires an actual amendment
my apologies.
to the actual agenda. And so you want to be careful with it, because of course, if the board supports the motion is set in place, but you want to make sure that no one has any objections to the motion that you're trying to put on the agenda, because the order of business has already been set. So I don't want you all to think I'm being rude or extra complicated with asking if you are attempting to amend the agenda, but in order for you to take that vote, you want to do an amendment of the agenda so that that vote can be taken appropriately and legally.
My
So right now,
apologies.
you're asking for, what I believe you were asking for is you are wanting to amend the agenda to allow for a motion to do what exactly?
I'm moving to make an amendment to the agenda to allow for a vote to make the boiler replacement deemed as an emergency from this Board of Education.
Is there a second or support?
I second.
The motion has been made by trustee Gavin and supported by trustee Doyle that we amend the agenda. Any additional questions or comments or concerns on that amendment to the agenda?
Yes.
Secretary Triplett.
I don't know why a motion is necessary that the boiler is deemed as an emergency. It's already been understood that this is an emergency. It has to be an emergency because it comes up every day, everywhere. It is not only, it is a super emergency. For me, as the chairman of the facilities committee, and I just, for me, I have too many relatives, I have too many people in these schools. And it's offensive to me for people to sit in their privilege and their arrogance to constantly, repeatedly sit up here and say that we're not doing what we're supposed to do. I am the chairman of the facilities committee. I give deference and respect to every last chairman and their committees and their groups. Enough is enough. I have sat here long enough. Our school is not getting ready to blow up. We have things in place. We need to stop it. Enough is enough. And I think it's offensive to this Board of Education to continue to sit here and allow this foolishness to go forward. I don't disrespect any other chairman. Nobody, if you wanted to know, you could have called me. We don't need to be up in the day-to-day operations of central administration. They do not work. They work for us. Our superintendent works for us, but they have work to do. They can't sit up here and roll out thousands and thousands and thousands of things that people need, that we're doing the work. So stop putting out here that we got our kids, my nieces, my nephews, my great nieces up in here. You ain't got nobody up in here every day. And I'm definitely not gonna put them in here to blow up. But you can cut that. It's called, the things that we're gonna do, we talking about the high school, Fairplain East is in trouble. But nobody want to come in after. That's what our young man, he goes to Fairplain East. That is in trouble too. So I think that we need to have respect for one another and trust the process. Because it's like we playing games up in here. And I have had enough. Seriously. Everybody at this table, there's not one person at this table You will never be more concerned about what's going on with these boilers and the school district. Ever. None of you. I was concerned about it when you went to school. This ain't new. So let's move forward and let us do our work. That's it for me.
Thank you, Secretary Triplett. Any other comments regarding the amendment of the agenda? Hearing none.
President Robinson, just want to be clear. This is a process that the superintendent sent the attorney's video out to everybody. And the attorney recommended that this board, if we deem it an emergency, that we say it in one voice as a vote to deem it as an emergency. This is not to undermine anybody. This is just us doing the business of the board so that we can make sure that we officially expedite the process so that classes can be warm as soon as possible before the winter hits.
Thank you. So you all know that I rarely speak up or comment when debates or discussion is taking place, because essentially as the chair of the meeting, my responsibility is to make sure that everyone has clarification, agendas are set, that the floor is given to individuals. We have 6 other people on the board that have plenty of say, and at some particular point, someone makes a point that aligns with mine. So I rarely step out and give a comment during debate. But I think at this particular time, it's necessary. And my sentiments are similar to Secretary Triplett's. And of course, I'm going to say them a little differently, but I am supporting and backing up the sentiments that he has expressed. I am not, I don't even know the word, but I am utterly disappointed with the reflection that has been given out as if this Board of Education is not concerned about the status of the buildings and the status of the furnaces, that the boilers that we have. We have been on this board. I have been on this board the longest. The other individuals have been here 2 years, and we have consistently given funds and resources and given services to the boilers to ensure that they are working appropriately. There's something wrong with the boiler, we call a tech out. We try to fix it as much as we can. We put hundreds of thousands of dollars into the boilers to ensure that they're working appropriately. I, similar to Secretary Triplett, have a child, 2 kids that are here in the district. So when you say that the Board of Education is not taking the best interest of the student at heart, but then you don't have the information that we have family members and we have children that are in the buildings, but you have a multitude of things that this district is managing and dealing with. And you put this timeline out about, the boilers. We had quotes on the boilers back in whatever month and whatever year when we were given a presentation, and we approved hundreds of thousands of dollars to do the repair. Those details are sometimes left out of this narrative that's being created. So you would think that we're selfishly sitting here and allowing children to freeze and have not taken any action on that. And that is the farthest thing from the truth, because there have been 5 of us that have been on this board for the last 2 years. And you have things like recalls, and I have not spoken on this recall this entire time. So I hope that this completely communicates where I am with the way that things are being handled at this board table. We have 5 members of this, but I'm not going to pause. I'm going to finish my comment.
That's a long second.
We have,
You talk long.
what I will say is that I have given deference to everybody at this table for every comment that they have wanted to make, whether it was 2 minutes or 3 minutes or 4 minutes, 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, and I have not made a comment. So I find it completely disrespectful that anyone will have the audacity to say something about the length of my comment where I have not given 1 comment at this board table. And if I did, it was 1 or 2. So if I can defer to everybody here that has 5 or 6 or 7 questions, I know that this Board of Education can give me the amount of time that I need to say what I need to say, because I've done so graciously this entire meeting, and I am tired of the disrespect. And I mean that, because I go above and beyond to get along with everybody at this table and make sure that you feel heard. I silence myself to ensure that you all feel heard. And so you will listen to what I have to say. There are 5 people that have been on this Board of Education for the past 2 years. But somehow you have one person that has been signaled out when we have all been here and responsible for the status of these buildings and the environment of this district, and we are doing our best at doing it. You also have a facilities committee and various committees that are charged with the responsibility of taking care of certain issues. But when it comes to certain topics, it's as if we don't respect the integrity of the committee. We have not had one policy come before this Board of Education that did not go through the policy committee. I do not believe we have had one hire or anything major, thousands of dollars of purchases that we did not. I am not.
Point of order,
I'm going to finish my statement.
point of order,
I am finishing my statement.
point of privilege.
We respect the committee work. And so
Point of
I am
privilege.
asking that the work of the facilities committee be respected as well.
There's a motion on the floor. You have
And I
2
am
minutes
giving my
to-
comment to the amendment to the agenda on that motion, and I will reclaim my time and continue to do so. Thank you for attempting to respect my comments as if I have respected yours this entire meeting. I am done with what I have to say. Secretary Triplett, can you please call the vote for the amendment of the agenda?
President Robinson,
No.
Vice President Bowens,
No.
Secretary Triplett, no. Treasurer Creighton,
No.
Trustee Rocket Martin,
No.
Trustee Doyle, Trustee Gavin. Motion failed.
Excuse me, I didn't even get to say yes, Secretary Triplett.
You didn't say anything.
Right, you
Okay.
didn't give me a chance.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
It's like, yeah,
Trustee Gavin,
I voted yes for an emergency.
okay. The motion failed.
Okay, so the amendment to the agenda to allow for the vote for the boilers to be deemed an emergency has failed.
Point of order, point of clarity. It was a
Treasurer Creighton.
motion as an amendment to the
Yeah,
agenda.
the
It wasn't
amendment to
for
the
the
agenda.
actual motion.
Correct.
So an amendment. The
Amendment to the
amendment
agenda.
failed.
The amendment failed.
Yes.
Thank you if I misspoke.
No problem. I want it to
Okay.
be documented correctly.
All right, so, thank you for that, Treasurer Creighton.
No problem.
Okay,
Can we read our norms, President?
Somebody else might need to read them for me. I'll read them.
Please give them to me.
Treasurer Creighton, can you please read
No,
the Board of
no,
Education
no
norms?
problem. All right. As Board of Education members, we will treat each other with respect. We will listen to learn. We will refrain from side conversations. We will use our time wisely, which we're not doing tonight, starting to end in our meetings on time. We will challenge ideas and not people. We will ask questions when in doubt, and there will be no surprises at the board table. And we will practice the 7 norms of collaboration, which are pausing, paraphrasing, posing questions, putting ideas on the table, providing data, paying attention to self and others, and presuming positive intentions.
Thank you so very much.
No problem.
I appreciate that, and you.
Thank you.
Vice President Bowens,
So we're talking about the boilers, right?
we are still technically on the conversation of the boilers, but we are gonna proceed because I am going to ask that.
Get a selection.
I am perfectly fine with doing so. I thought you had a comment.
No, I wanted us to end the conversation.
Okay, next on the agenda is new business. Any new business? I would like to take this opportunity before the public leaves to acknowledge the fact that it is Dr. Butt's birthday.
Oh, wow.
So if you all would join us under new business
Aw.
in wishing him a happy birthday.
Madam President.
Yes.
I want you to sing, I want to sing happy birthday, but we skipped a couple
We
items
skipped
on the
the teaching and
agenda.
learning.
Sorry about that. We're gonna sing, thank you for that. We're gonna sing happy birthday to Dr. Bus, and then we're gonna continue with our agenda because we need some positive energy. Okay, so on the count of 3.
Happy birthday.
1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to
you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Dr. Bud. Happy birthday.
Are you one? Are you two?
All right.
All right,
Bless you.
so we are gonna move right along with the agenda. The teaching and learning, quotes, requests by building. Chief Waddell, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you again. And happy birthday again, Dr. Butts, for the record. Staff report T1. Today's date is June 27th, 2023. The subject is purchase of textbook and consumables. Submitting for board consideration, the Board of Education shall approve all textbooks used as part of the educational program of this district. Purchases over $28,048 need board approval according to the most recent State of Michigan Department of Education threshold. Facts and analysis, the board recently approved the adoption of the following curriculum. Benton Harbor Area Schools is seeking the approval to purchase the approved consumable items that are used alongside the textbooks. Alongside the textbooks. These vendors are a sole source. Again, you see the chart listed with the total of consumable costs being $514,793.50. Policy reference is 6320, purchasing, strategic plan reference, academics. Benton Harbor Area Schools will increase student achievement as measured on local, state, and national assessments. And the recommended action is that the Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education votes to approve the purchase of the approved consumables as presented, totaling $514,793.50.
Thank you. And go ahead.
Yes, I was just going to say that this is a new request. We left off the worksheets. I want to just put that out there and be transparent. We were so focused on textbooks, but we caught it. So these are the consumables that go along with the textbooks that we just purchased.
I believe Dr. Butts also had something that he wanted to clarify prior to us actually taking a vote.
These consumables that Chief Waddell just presented it's a one-time purchase with the books. So we will get them renewed every year at this one-time purchase for the life of, is it 4 to 6 years, Chief Waddell? 6 years. So this is a one-time purchase. We will get a renewal every year for 6 years.
Thank you. At this particular time, I'll ask, is there a motion to approve staff report T1?
So move.
Is there a second or
Just
support?
second the motion.
The motion has been made by Secretary Triplett and supported by Trustee Rocket Martin. Any questions, comments, or concerns regarding staff report T1?
I have a question.
You have the floor.
Thank you. Did you mention the funding source,
I did not, and I can do that.
please?
It is on the quotes. It's the third tab over. The funding source will be ESSER 3. And then we do have also a general fund source. So 2, ESSER 3 and general fund.
So
The majority of it is ESSER 3 though.
President Robinson, my concern, to be fully transparent, this did not come before our committee, and I'm all for, doing what we need to do for curriculum. However, for this to be our funding source, to be ESSER 3, which we're still working on how we're going to spend that money, I'm very concerned, without any vetting, to be honest, to spend $700,000 just like that, without really,
Where's the 700,000? I'm sorry.
it said 768,000.
To clarify, the new amount is $514,793.50.
I'm sorry, $500,000 without, vetting or really knowing. I'm just being honest as this treasurer, like, it's a big ask, is there some other funding sources that we'll use? We have some other agreements coming up. This ESSER money is gone. When it's gone, it's gone. And so I'm just wondering, are there other funding sources that can be used? Is this something that, I don't know, I'm just kind of uncomfortable right now.
I don't know if Chief Waddell or Dr. Butts would like to add to that. And to add to her question, I know that we're going into our new fiscal period as it relates to the school year, but I do not believe that we're attempting to use these until the actual fall school year period.
Yes.
So
this is for our
would this be something that we need to take the vote on right now at this
Yes.
particular time?
And just to,
Yes.
and
They
and
won't
I,
be in.
yes, just because we need to place the order Like, we've got to get them ordered, and I totally understand Treasurer Creighton's concern, but it is urgent because we need to place the order.
And you were asking about alternative funding.
So I'm just
sources?
asking where the title funds in this, because we purchased the books from title, right? So can we not use title to purchase these?
No,
It was general and ESSER three that we purchased those stuff from as well.
'cause it's
I
an
have a
expected
question.
functioning of the district.
1 second.
All right.
Okay, so Treasurer Creighton, we got your question answered. Dr. Buss and Chief Waddell, I appreciate you all in asking those clarifications. I'm gonna go to Secretary Triplett. And
My
before
question, I didn't get to.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So I guess, honestly, I understand that it's an emergency, but everything is an emergency, right? It's an emergency that I leave tonight, but I'm here. You know, I thought I would be here to 7. So I'm just saying though, everything is an emergency. And so again, as the treasurer coming before you with the budget on Thursday, I don't know, it kind of breaks my heart. I feel surprised. Like, I just feel, I don't know. I don't really know because we've not talked about this. And I was under the impression that this was title funds. I was not clear that it was ESSER funds. And so, yeah, I'm kind of uncomfortable with that. But go ahead.
Okay. My follow-up question would be, I would anticipate that given that we are coming to a budget hearing on Thursday, and you all have presented that budget to the Finance Committee, and the presentation I know has come out to the board, does that budget reflect this 514,793.50?
It does.
Since when? Because we just met yesterday.
Right, but that was part of the money we had already allocated from the previous one, when Molly was, when
We
Hunger
talked
Fry.
about title funds, but I'm not gonna go
Yes.
back and forth.
Yeah.
My answer is no. It wasn't clear. I thought it was title funds, to be honest. Yeah.
Secretary Triplett and then Trustee Gavin, and before they speak, is there anyone else that would like to make a comment after Trustee Gavin? I'm writing them down. Okay, Rocket Martin, and then after that, we'll call the vote. Trustee Gavin. I'm sorry,
President-
Secretary Triplett was attempting to, you changed your mind?
I have nothing.
Okay, Trustee Gavin.
So what I would say is that I recall seeing this addition on multiple occasions. And I'm not exactly sure if it was with the Finance Committee meeting or the curriculum and instruction, or if it, like, I remember seeing this figure. I remember receiving the heads up on that. And I know that in regards to ESSER funds, we have to spend them within a certain period of time. And I feel very comfortable spending money, investing money in educational tools in an educational institution. And I don't mean that to slight anybody in any way. What I'm saying is I've seen teachers without books and without the consumables that they need. And then I've seen spending on other things that are not related. And so if the chief academic officer is asking for an investment in consumables that go with those textbooks and those teachers, they can order them as soon as possible. I don't know, if it's possible to get that stuff in the teachers' hands as soon as possible so that they're ready when school starts. I'm in favor of consumables that this entire district could use. I'm not in favor of any classroom not having what they need, like, ever again. And so I am 100% in favor of this purchase.
Trustee Rocket Martin.
I echo her sentiments.
Madam President.
That might have been the shortest comment in the history of this board together. Treasurer Creighton.
Yeah, to make it clear, I'm not against the books. I'm saying the funding source is not listed, and this was not mentioned explicitly. And she also said that she did not talk about this in our meeting. So I just want to be clear for the record, not against books. The funding source was not listed, and it's not listed on the resolution. So now that I'm clear, I'm prepared to move forward. But again, I want to make sure that our admin are looking both ways before they cross the street. I want them to know the information, and I want them to know that a car can come out of nowhere. So just look both ways before you cross the street. That's all I'm asking. This is not 50,000. We're talking $500,000. right? And again, we need books, but we need teachers, we need boilers, we need, a superintendent, we need heat, we need air. We need to be more efficient, it's a lot of needs. And so I'm not against it. I want students to be able to get everything that they need, right? And it's an emergency, 911. But I'm just saying, we have to make sure that our admin, everyone involved are doing their due diligence. And so again, it's a surprise, which is our norm. And so I just wanted to point that out. Please look both ways before you cross the street or bring things to the table. Thank you.
Thank you. And I would like to apologize because I jumped over trustee Rockette Martin to go back to treasurer Creighton. So we're gonna go to trustee Rockette Martin, and then Secretary Triplett has put his name back on the list for comment. Trustee Rockette Martin. Oh, you already gave yours. Oh, I didn't do, it was so quick. I didn't. Okay, Secretary Triplett.
But we were given a heads up in our finance committee about this coming over to us, to the board.
Secretary Triplett, you had a comment? Or did you change your mind again?
No, I agree with trustee Gavin. Those are my sentiments exactly, but I also agree with Treasurer Creighton. And I think one thing that I must say about the finance committee, they are on top of their stuff. And so we cannot continue to come here and think that it is okay without checks and balances. You can't pick and choose when you want the checks and balances to be at the forefront. It has to become a way of living. And if the chairman of the finance committee is unaware or have any, we're asking you questions right here at the table, those are the kind of things that make us feel uncomfortable. But I do, like Treasurer Creighton said, it's not about being against books or anything, but we got to sharpen ourselves and get ourselves together when we come before our public. Thank you.
Thank
Call for the
you.
vote.
Yep, at this particular time, I ask the Secretary Triplett call for the vote for staff report T1.
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President
Yes.
Owen, Secretary Triplett, yes. Treasurer Creighton.
Yes.
Trustee Rockette Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Gavin,
Yes.
motion carries.
All right, so we are gonna, thank you, Chief Waddell.
Thank you.
Just want to point out that we have a meeting June 29th. Ask that you go back and double check and see if there's anything else that we need to try to be budgeted for, whether it's highlighters or whatever that is, so we can make sure we can get everything we need to get and make sure we're ready for the school year. So thank you.
Thank you.
For catching that this was overlooked. Next on our agenda, we have human resources. We're gonna pass the mic to Marvin McDermott. And I apologize, I have a hard time pronouncing it. So I don't know if I did it right that time or not. I get it wrong every time.
Correct.
Oh,
Correct.
gold star.
So this was presented before, but I think we are here to make a vote. So I'm going to read it. Staff report H1. So reason for board consideration, a list of employees whose employment relationship with the district is or will be separated is submitted to the board each month. Facts and analysis. It is recommended that the Board of Education votes to accept the separation of employment of the following staff. Policy reference 3140 and 4140, resignation of professional and support staff. Strategic plan goal reference, none. Separation of employment. We have Jacob Crow from the position of secondary literacy coordinator, Mr. Martell Burton from restorative justice specialist, Ms. Catherine Hatch, TNT for biology, Mr. Joseph Bullocks, director of facilities, Mr. Thomas Adams, summer school teacher, specifically for science, Mr. Curtis Clark, TNT music. Recommended action that the Benton Harbor Area School Board of Education votes to accept the separation of employment of the aforementioned staff.
Is there a motion to approve staff report H1?
President Robinson,
You have the floor.
I ask that we remove or separate Joseph Bullocks from this separation of employment.
Okay, so
Document.
Is that the only name that you want to remove from the consent agenda?
Yes.
Okay, so what trustee Gavin is requesting is that we separate H1, so that H1 is including everyone listed except for Joseph Bullocks, and that would essentially be H. Yeah, that would be, we'll make that H2. Joseph Bullocks, Director of Facilities. So is there a motion to approve H1 with Jacob Crow, Martell Burton, Catherine Hatch, Thomas Adams, and Curtis Clark? Is there a motion to approve staff report H1?
Make a motion to approve staff report H1.
Is there a second or support?
Support.
The motion has been made by trustee Raquel Martin and supported by trustee Bowens. Any questions, comments, and concerns regarding staff report H1?
Have a concern.
You have the floor.
President Robinson, one, I have a concern about our process. And I've made that clear. I won't go into great detail. And two, I have a concern about the turnover from our TNT program. I believe that we need to look into that process of our TNT program. What are we offering this staff? Are we paying them what we should be paying teachers in training? Are they required to do, an abundance of professional development on top of also having to take classes and pay for them themselves? And so we want to make sure that this program is not a setup for failure and that we retain the teachers that we are investing in. I keep seeing TNT on here. And so as a board, as a curriculum committee member, I'm hoping that we will take a deeper look into what's happening in terms of our process of retaining TNT employment. And I'm sad to see two folks on here.
Thank you, trustee Gavin. Secretary Triplett,
This is something that,
can you pull up to the mic?
this is something that we've discussed, over and over when I was on the HR, committee. Can everybody hear me?
I don't know. There's some rumbling going on at the other.
Okay.
I'm so sorry. He was trying to put an Android charger in my iPhone. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I was just wondering, I thought I heard something. But I have been saying this, and so as chairman of the curriculum committee, and I've been saying this this is the second year, trustee Gavin. You're seeing TNT. What is the TNT program? Really, what is it? And what, you can unclick that, because y'all, put the two back up. Thank you. Put that two, look. But seriously, no, I agree. Because there's something, when you say TNT, as teachers in training, we need to really make sure that they have the things that they need. Some people, they're walking out, you're a teacher in training, you're in the classroom with no books, no support, none of these types of things, and so we just need to, they're not resigning for nothing. Okay, so thank you again. I definitely would have my concerns about that as well.
Thank you. Any additional comments, questions regarding staff report H1? Hearing none, Secretary Triplett, can you please call the vote?
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowen.
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Treasurer Creighton,
Abstain.
trustee Rocket Martin,
Yes.
trustee Gavin,
No.
motion carried.
All right, next on the agenda, we have staff report H2, which is separation of employment for Joseph Bullocks, Director of Facilities. Is there a motion to approve staff report H2?
I put a motion on the floor to approve staff report H2.
Is there a second or support?
Second.
The motion has been made by trustee Bowens and supported by trustee Raquel Martin. Any additional questions, comments, or concerns regarding staff report H2? This is discussion.
I'm just very, very sad about this situation. For me, I saw a lot of great things happen. Under Mr. Bullock's leadership. And so. For me, you know, the resignation being tendered. You know, it puts you in a rock and a hard place. I just want to thank you seriously for the good work. Just always readily being available. And you can see it, my class came in for our 45th year reunion. And there were some facility things that discussed later at the facility committee. But to walk into that gymnasium and it was, you know, pristine, looked nice for once. And they were so just impressed, you know. Again, so like I said, this is very, very tough. And for me. And I wish things could have gone differently. Which conversations would have been held to get past this particular thing. But I would like to thank Dr. Bullock for everything that he really did for our school district and for that division.
Thank you, Secretary Triplett. Any additional questions or comments regarding staff report H2?
I have a comment.
You have the floor.
I think when we were at this table about a year ago, I had a lot of questions and I really didn't necessarily understand the need, right? But after being here, being on this committee, being a Tiger, being an alum, this gave me this experience under Dr. Bullock's leadership gave me a different experience and understanding of what we actually need. When I heard about this resignation, it was like, it kind of hit me differently because I felt blindsided and I don't do well with surprises, even if there are good ones. So I did feel very blindsided. But through, I think these conversations, I got a better understanding definitely of what we need. And I think sometimes we don't understand what we need versus what we're actually doing. And one of the things that I share this weekend with some of my family and friends is that sometimes we have to align our expectations to the standards in which things are. And so it's been very difficult for me. I don't avoid things, but this has been that thing that I'm glad it has been avoided because I was just hoping that it was a dream that would go, a nightmare that would go away. And so, you know, it is a resignation. It's been very difficult. You know, I've played with the policies and trying to read and understand like what could be different, but you know, it's a resignation. And so I want to thank Dr. Bullock, no matter how the board votes. You know, I want to thank you seriously from the bottom of my heart. And I want to apologize for really not understanding how you were fitting and inserting yourself into a great need that we do have here in Benton Harbor area schools.
Thank you. I would like to make a comment to say that I appreciate all of the effort that Mr. Bullock has made as well. I know you are a jack of all trades, and I think that it was a benefit to the district that we had someone that could not only work in this capacity, but had the ability to build a building from his hands up. Because when you can build a building, then you can understand what needs to be fixed and what is structurally wrong or right in a facility. So I think that it was a good match as it relates to the district. And so I just want to make sure that you are aware that I appreciate your efforts as well. You joining our team in a moment where we had a need and everything that you've done during that time frame. So I just wanted to be sure to notate that as well. I'm not sure if there's any additional comments from the board. Trustee Gavin.
President Robinson, I was wondering if I could yield my time to hear from Dr. Bullock's.
So you would like to allow Dr. Bullock to come to the mic?
If he's interested.
Is there any disagreement from the board?
And if he's not, I'll take my time, but I just wanted to know if he wanted to speak at all.
Well, she's asking if there was anything that you would like to say to us, and I asked the board if they had any disagreement with you making a comment or,
I've never seen that happen.
okay.
I don't know if that's within protocol. I think that's
Okay.
inappropriate.
So we'll proceed. Anyone else?
Okay, well then I'll
Go ahead
take
with
my
your comment.
time.
Okay.
Okay, so what I wanted to say is that I am appreciative of Dr. Bullock's. I have heard a lot of positive feedback, both throughout the building, and from the staff that came in. They had no obligation to speak on his behalf, being that there was a resignation on the floor. You could have had a bunch of people who just wanted to take his job and let that ride, but they wanted his leadership here. That says something in a district that's in an emergency facilities situation. And to allow him to leave when we are in the predicament that we are in, it concerns me greatly. His expertise, his relationship with the staff, what he was doing with very little, that concerns me. Because when we have a shortage, and it's known that we don't have to have a shortage, we're creating a problem when we already had a solution. And that's the last thing that we need in Benton Harbor area schools right now, is to create a problem when we had a solution. And so, you know, this name on here, anybody who's working in facilities, regardless of what anyone says, there are some risks involved, and there are documented risks involved. And so when we have people who risk their lives to show up for our kids, I believe that it's very simple for us to just take certain votes to show that we support and appreciate them.
You had a comment, trustee Rocket Martin? Go
Just,
ahead.
I too would, I'm trying to put it in a very diplomatic way. Because I think before you make decisions, you yourself need to do some research so that you make the best decision for yourself, so you don't have to come back and redo. So, sometimes we can be too hasty. And that's probably not a wise thing to do, but take the time and research and make sure that's what you want to do before you do it. Because there are consequences that happen when you do that.
Thank you, trustee Rocket Martin. At this particular time, I'll ask for the vote for staff report H2.
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowen,
Yes.
Treasurer Creighton,
Abstain.
Trustee Rocket Martin,
Yes.
Trustee Gavin.
No.
He's trying to get the vote documented.
Secretary Triplett, no. Motion carried.
You called it, did you call Doyle?
Oh, wait a minute, is she here?
Oh, she's gone. Okay.
Wait a minute. Dane is a yes.
So we have 3 yeses and abstain and 2 noes?
Yeah.
Okay, motion passes. All right, so next No.
Also, the abstain count as a yes?
It calls for majority.
Oh.
All right, next on the agenda, we have board resolution HR, it's a little odd the way that it's,
It's a closed session at the end. Look on
no,
the
that's
agenda.
at the end. No, Marvin has one more thing that he needs to correct.
That's the closed session.
No, there's a closed session at the, Marvin, am I misstating? There's something on the agenda under separation of employment, a revote. Correct, it's in our packet as well.
The revote is what we just did, right?
No,
Oh.
Okay, so I think, I'm on the wrong agenda. I'm doing some work here. During the closed session, I think the wrong name was read for a vote versus the name that was presented in the closed session.
okay, so this is simply us correcting. We met in closed session regarding a particular employee.
Right.
But when the board resolution was presented to us, there was a typo on the resolution
Correct.
that noted the name wrong.
Correct.
So this is an individual that's here that we've already seen or met with or discussed, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so can you present the resolution?
Well. Go ahead, sorry.
Did you have a clarification? So we did this, we had a closed session last time. And we met with these individuals, but when we came to the table, there was a typo on the actual document that I read as it relates to the name.
Okay.
So does this mean we don't have a closed session?
We have a closed session at the end regarding the
still have
other
one.
item. Mhm.
Okay.
Cause we had two separate closed sessions two separate reasons for closed sessions.
I make a motion
Last
that we
time.
approve the board resolution for the background check with the noted correction of a typo due to a name being spelled incorrectly.
And the name is Demarius McKinney. Is there a motion to approve the board resolution?
So moved.
The motion has been made by Treasurer Creighton, Secretary Triplett. Can I take you as the support?
Sure can.
Any additional questions or comments from the board? Secretary Triplett, can you please call the vote?
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowens,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes, Treasurer Creighton. Treasurer Creighton,
Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Gavin,
Yes.
motion carried.
All right, so what I will say to this, and I know that it has been stated a couple times at the board table. I'm not sure if I've ever stated it myself. So I'm taking that stance as the president of the board to ensure that everyone knows that I support what my trustees have reiterated and said multiple times. The Board of Education is trusting the district to come to the board meeting prepared to present to us what we're supposed to have to be able to make an informed vote. And we understand that everyone at the district is under a lot, is managing a lot at this particular time. But in order to ensure that we are as efficient as we can be with our time and that we are making votes in the correct manner, I'm asking that all of the chiefs and everyone that is responsible for presenting this information to us, error check before they send anything to Liz. I'm not sure if they created or if Ms. Goodwin creates it or what your actual internal policy is for getting these documents to us. But we're not going to recognize a difference in a name being off or textbooks being left off and things like that. So when we come to this table, we're trusting that the information that is presented to us is as it should be. And so I am putting the accountability on the chiefs to ensure that and Marvin, to ensure your information is accurate before you come before the table, so that we do not have to continue to have duplicate things voted on that we've already made an effort to get managed. And at this particular time, we are moving forward with the agenda. We are actually at new business. Is there any new business? That's at the bottom. Okay, so I want everyone to know I have a hard copy of the agenda in my hand.
Oh, President
There is a
Robinson.
closed session that is
sorry.
at the end of the meeting.
President Robinson.
1 second, Ms. Gavin. And right now I am not forgetting we have a closed session, but it is under board member announcements and comments. So I
Under new
haven't forgotten.
business. I'm
Yep, go
sorry.
ahead with new business.
I mentioned it few times in committees and then to you. I'm wondering if this board is going to make any type of formal statements of support of debt forgiveness for Benton Harbor area schools, whether it be requesting that a letter of support come from this board or a resolution for debt forgiveness on the state budget for Benton Harbor area schools, along with the other public schools that were included in the House and Senate budget.
Madam President, may I respond?
You have the floor.
In our finance meeting, we talked about this. And so Ms. Gavin offered to help with the language. And so what we're asking to do is with permission from the board to work on the letter, just asking for support to let the public know that we, as the Board of Education for Benton Harbor Area Schools, are in support of petitioning the state and the Senate and everyone in charge to support the Fresh Start resolution that's being presented by the Senate. So it's currently already, I think, in the Senate. And so we're just asking for a resolution to as support, nothing more, just to be able to go out and publicly, almost like a press release, to say that we support it.
Okay, and that's something you all are already working on, that language?
We talked about it in finance, that we wanted to work on the language, but if I'm not, I don't want to misspeak, but I think Ms. Gavin is just asking or mention, is this a pre-message or what are you asking?
Just wondering if it could be on the agenda for the next meeting. If we can get that language written up, if it can be on the agenda for us to support it.
Are you saying Thursday or
Thursday.
July's first board meeting?
Thursday would be great.
I would say July, because it should go
'Cause
through
it's a
committee.
yeah.
It should go through committee.
Okay, so if you all could work on the language, then bring it by committee and have it ready to present to the board. We can have it as an agenda item. You all can do a presentation as to the resolution that you're suggesting. Give a little bit of background history so the public understands why we're doing what we're doing, and then the board can review that for a vote in that July meeting. All right, any other new business? I know that we have, Liz emailed us some information about some summer training institutes. I know that, in the absence of our previous vice president, we really haven't had the MASB plugs as often as we would normally, but I just want to, request that Liz resend that back out just to make sure that everyone is aware of it. If I'm not mistaken, it's a training in August. Trustee Raquel?
Summer Institute.
Yeah, the Summer Institute for MASB. So if Liz could resend that out for us and you all could check your email and determine if you want to go. If you're wanting to go, you want to let her know as soon as possible, because those hotels book up fast. And if you don't book immediately, you'll be in another hotel. And Secretary Triplett is looking upside my head because I always wait till the last minute and didn't make it last time. So it's for myself as well. So I'm trying to lead by example and get myself together and encourage everyone else to register as well.
How many stars is the hotel?
They're normally
I'm just joking.
like 3. It's pretty nice. It's pretty
I
nice.
make a motion that we said a 5-star hotel.
It's pretty nice. And it's and we normally have a good time. It's a good training opportunity, learning opportunity. I know there's a couple of us that are only 1 or 2 classes away from our board certifications. Some of us that are wanting to get started with classes. So it's a good opportunity to get all of those trainings knocked out at once in one weekend, one setting. But then it also gives us an opportunity to spend team building time with each other by going to dinner or lunch in between our sessions, which is something we rarely have an opportunity to do. So it's something I want you all to definitely consider. If we could get our full board to go to the training and spend that time, and that be a team building exercise even, and we decide we're going to go to dinner at the MASB training or something like that, really consider going. As many of us as we can have show up and represent the Benton Harbor area schools, is serious about the work of the board. It would be an amazing look. So just wanted to put that plug out there. And then next, if there's no other new business, we have open public comment. Is there anyone here that would like to make a public comment, and because we've already read the statement and I know you've spoken before, I won't go back through it. You have the floor.
Yes, I listened to everybody today and I enjoyed the board meeting. This is the first time I've been in a board meeting since I left the district. I just want to kind of put a couple of things out there for the board. I really respected what Triplett said earlier. And I just think the board should have took heed to it. Sometimes when you're paying an attorney to represent this board and this whole entire school district, if the board do not understand what they're voting for, that's why you pay him to tell you what needs to happen. Okay. And I just think that sometimes things shouldn't come to the board meeting today and nobody knows what they're voting on. I'm in the same situation on my job. We have an attorney, and I think it's just me. I think that where I work at, we have our president and our vice president communicates with the attorney. If the board has any questions, those two members talk to that attorney gives them what they needed. Those two members bring that back to the board. That way the board knows. And that's to keep a whole lot of people's out of the mix. I think that listening today, I think you all had some very, very good ideas. I really do. Unfortunately, I don't blame none of you. Nobody on this board, not even superintendent. This mess happened a long, long time ago. And it's just now, it's in y'all lap to fix it. Okay. Also, I'd like to make another recommendation that today is Tuesday. I think that every department head need to put together what they want to bring to their board. They need to get it to you guys within 5 to 7 business days to give you time to go over it. So when you sit together at this board, you had 5 to 7 days to review it. And the questions can be answered. If you don't know, you have plenty enough time to ask those questions so that the board can move along. I know y'all trying to get home. I know it. I can look at it. I know Tripp, he's eating. You had to get him something to eat. I'm ready too. So, but I respect every last one of you. I pretty much know everybody here. I think that you guys all had very, very good points. The boiler situation, that is a long process. I know that. I deal with that too. So I know it's a very lengthy process. So I understand that's not something that can happen overnight. Also, even though the board vote that it's an emergency, that does not mean it's an emergency to them because it's the summer. Okay, if it was cold, then yes, it's an emergency. And I'm sorry for going over my minutes, but I just think that you all hang in there, figure out how you can set your difference to the side, get along, make this happen for the kids, because our kids are very, very important here. I don't have any kids in this school district, but me and my wife give back to this district. And I don't even want to say why, because I don't want nobody to pat me on the back. I do it from my heart. That's what I do it from. I don't need nobody to tell me, oh, thank you. No, these are my kids too. Okay. So, and I really appreciate the board and I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for open public comment?
There's one thing that I think now I'm not trying to blame anybody on the board. Not a single one of y'all. I love all of y'all and respect y'all jobs. But there's one thing that I don't think I should be sharing with my grandparents and my great-grandparents. The same boilers.
You can say thank you and drop the mic with that one.
Don't drop the mic.
Not literally, but
You know, he's just fake, pretend.
right.
Yeah. You go ahead, so.
What you want to say?
You got it.
I love everybody in this building. I love you, 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 you over there, you in the cyan shirt, you in the black, you in the, you, you,
We love you too.
you, definitely you, you,
I love it.
and you.
Thank you.
Sweetheart.
The son.
We love you too, Sally.
Anyone else for open public comment? You have the floor.
Thank you. I just want to say, since I've been in the community, and many of you know me, I have worked tireless times to reach out into the community and be a good steward in the community and love on our children. I'm so proud of this child here. He's a good tender for being in leadership. After retiring from the school, I started the Fresh Start Children's Garden. And I have been committed for 17 years in doing that garden. And I get a lot of great comments about the garden. And I'm here because I'm concerned about our youth. I got a visit. First of all, I want to say happy birthday again. My youngest daughter's birthday is today too. So I'll always remember your birthday. So Kathy's birthday. Yes. So I want to say today that I got a visit in the garden the other day. I was sitting and speaking with one of the church mothers, one very highly revered mothers. And I was really taken off my feet and I was really disturbed because the person that visited me was Mr. Bowen. And when he came to visit me, he came in an aggressive way that he began to speak in a way of telling me his concerns instead of saying, Miss Kennard, I have a concern. Is it a time that I can speak with you later? Because I have a person there out of respect. And I said, as he began to talk over me, I reminded him, I said, now I am an elder. He said, I'm an elder too. I'm raising 2 children of some relative or something. And so it was really rude the way that he came to me. And I would like to see an apology from him because he could have said, Miss Kennard, can I speak with you later? If he had a concern of something that I said. He said that I had at one time spoke about you all eating during the time of the meetings. It was very unprofessional. And I did say that because if people are viewing you from here, if you're constantly eating and moving around, that's very unprofessional to take care of the business. If we're here till about 10 o'clock at night, you know, that says something. We got to stay focused in order to get things done right. And that was one of my concerns for saying that. But he was saying something in reference to, I didn't call any kind of anything on you. I was at a meeting where they had a recall. If I could just have a few more minutes just to get my say out. I'm 80 years old, so it takes a little time for me to get my point across maybe. But I want to let you know, if someone has got company, if it's something I have to say out of respect, I would wait. I wouldn't just verbally just go and start hammering on something maybe that I had a concern about. I would say, would you have a moment to speak with me? Give me your number and I'll call you and we can talk about whatever it is that he have that was concerned. And I just didn't understand why he kept talking over me and I kept reminding him. I said, let me speak. And every time I said it, he just outdrowned me in his understanding what he was trying to bring across. I did not call a recall on him. I haven't had anything, but I attended one recall on him. And that's my privilege to be there. But that was the thing that I spoke about, the unprofessional. And I do think it's very unprofessional. So I just want you all to be professional in the things that you do. I would never come to you and do that. I'm old enough to be an example, and I thought it was very unprofessional of him to address me like that. And he wanted me to witness that someone, Reverend Pinckney, had said he was going to kill somebody or something. I told him I never heard that. And he just, everything I go to say, he was just over, drown me out.
Ms.
So
Kennard,
I
can
hope that
please
you
wrap
all
up?
will
Mhm.
talk to him. As a board member, that was very disrespectful. And that is a lady that's got high standards here in this city. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else for open public comment?
Hello, how y'all doing?
You have the floor.
Just real brief. Just want to say thank you for the employment here at Ben Harbor Area Schools. I will always help out and try to work on Ben Harbor behalf. I don't have anybody numbers no more if that turns into district numbers. So I'm just saying it right here. I did reach out to Brooks Architectural Service. They are in Stevensville, Michigan. They are highly recommended. They have built multiple buildings around here and everything. And I did talk to them and they said that they can do the plans for $50,000 for both buildings. And by you separating them, it does fall under the 28,000 threshold. And they told me too that they can design the plans under 30 days. And while they submit the plans for board approval to the state for the plan review, it would take, and I talked to the inspector as well, and he said they can have it done in 2 weeks as far as the plan review. And if it's done and, we have to push them as an emergency situation, they can do it a little bit faster. So I did talk to the state inspector as well. And he said during the process, they can create an RFP while they waiting on the plans to get approved. Just an update and let you know that.
Thank you very much. Anyone else for open public comment? Hearing none, we're gonna move it right along to superintendent announcements and comments. I just want to let everyone know as it relates to the agenda, we have superintendent announcements and comments, then board member announcements and comments. The board has a closed session that we'll go into. It's a wrap-up closed session from the previous meeting, and then we'll adjourn. So you all do have the right to stay here while we're in the closed session, but literally the next thing after the closed session will be adjournment. I just want to make sure you all are aware of that. You have the right to stay, or you can choose to go after board member announcements and comments. So we're going to begin with Dr. Buss, superintendent announcements and comments.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd just like to thank everyone that helped organize and participate in the graduation ceremonies. The 8th graders also did their moving up ceremony, and they're getting ready to come over to Benton Harbor High School. The community Roar Bus participated in the Juneteenth parade, and we gave away over 600 donated books with a special thanks to President Robinson, Ms. Burrell, Ms. Virginia McClinton, and Chief Waddell for their help on that day. And just an acknowledgement to everyone's hard work this school year. And I also wanted to make a special acknowledgement to the hard work of our central administrative staff in the absence of both the CFO and the CHRO, and their support has been phenomenal.
Thank you, Dr. Butts. Next, we have board member announcements and comments. We're going to begin, I believe Trustee Doyle is absent, so we'll begin with Trustee Gavin.
Thank you, President Robinson. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody that came out for Peace Day. It was an amazing event showcasing the students and the phenomenal staff of Benton Harbor Area Schools and our ability to come together. We had almost 30 students who signed up and said that they want to become peer mediators to help each other work out their differences. And I think that that was a very powerful display of what our students desire for themselves and for their community and their leadership. What I will also say is that bullying takes place in many different forms. And sometimes there are microaggressions. Sometimes there are people who seem perfectly wonderful in public and they ignore us behind the scenes. That's happening. There are people who seem perfectly perfect in public, and they're going up to people and telling them, don't talk to this person, don't deal with this person, don't help that person. And that is the culture and climate that is creating the dysfunction and the chaos in our school system and in our community. And there needs to be some self-checking in that. We need to have a culture and climate in which everyone can say, I'm having a problem, I need help with the solution, and we can tap in and help with the solution without vilifying the person. We had an opportunity today as a board to vote and say that the boilers are an emergency. They have been an emergency. The problem is that we're okay with our kids existing in an emergency. That's a trauma response. And in other communities, that doesn't happen. When a child says I shouldn't share boilers with my grandparents and my great-grandparents, that's a message. And if we do not start taking our children's emergencies as something that we need to act on, if we've been here for 2 years and we've spent over $250,000 fixing a dead boiler, that's a problem. And it's not to blame anybody, it's to say, this is something that was supposed to be expedited a long time ago, and we didn't move on it until there was a recall. That is the truth. And even now, this board has decided not to make it an emergency and to make it seem like it's a personal thing when it's not. Yelling does not move me. I'm moved by a board vote. The superintendent is moved by a board vote. And this board voted that down. And you have to live with that. Thank you all for coming out. Ms. Kennard, you are amazing, and I apologize that that happened to you. You are a pillar in the community. And thank you, Seven. I love you, baby. Thank you, Miss G, for coming out, and everybody that spoke.
Trustee Rocket Martin. Thank you, Trustee Gavin. Trustee Rocket Martin.
I'd like to say once again, happy birthday, Dr. Butts. And thank everybody for coming. I am also a part of this community, part of the school district for 40 years. My children went here, my grandchildren went here. And there's nothing, and I can only speak for myself, that I would not do for the students of Benton Harbor area schools. In fact, and I don't even play the lottery, but I often think, boy, if I had this much money, what would I do for the school district? One thing I would do, not only get boilers, I would have new schools so that you could put in new boilers in new schools, especially at the elementary level. I understand the high school too, but we can start one school at a time. We've got a whole school over there. How come we just can't do something with that? Tear it down, build us a brand new elementary school right over there. And, you know, just for the sake of our kids. Because in other school districts, the parents are walking, they're telling you what they want. They want their kids in better buildings and more up-to-date buildings, and they're walking their kids to those buildings. That's not why they're not in our district. But I reiterate, we have some of the best teachers. We have some of the best people that work in our district. We have some of the best people that you can imagine on this board who are concerned and care about our kids. And I think it's bad, and I think it's hurtful that we are vilified in the Facebook, because a lot of what is being said is not true. We have voted. We know what the attorneys have told us. It's not that we said it's not an emergency. The attorneys told us they don't consider, not they, but the powers that be, I guess the state or whatever, said we are not in an emergency situation because it wasn't winter. And so that was fact. That's what they told us. So, and I'm sure they got their information maybe from the state of Michigan, I don't know. But anyway, I'll yield the rest of my floor. but I thank you for allowing us to serve your kids. We do honestly and truly have the interests of our students. They're all of our students at heart.
Thank you, trustee Raquel Martin. Treasurer Creighton.
Thank you so much. I want to first start off by saying happy birthday to Dr. Butts. I don't like surprises and I feel surprised. I didn't know it was your birthday, so I do apologize. And as a president, I do want to read this to you. When you walk through a day and trusting dependence on me, my aching heart is soothed. Gently bring your attention back to me whenever it wanders away. I look for persistence rather than perfection in your walk with me. And this is from my devotion. And I wanted to share that because, you know, a lot of times we sit here and we talk and we go back and forth and you know, that's what we do. And Mr. Triplett always like to say, there is a Ben Harbor way. And so, you know, as much as I participate in it, I hate that. It's a toxic trait, right? So I hate that that's something that we do. But I thank you for being here in the midst of all of our bullets that we throw back and forth at each other. It is all in love, you know. Unfortunately, we don't always get to display it the way in which I would like sometimes, and I participate in it, so I'm not pointing fingers. But I just want to say publicly that I do appreciate you. I appreciate all of your efforts and everything that you do behind the scenes. You know, a lot of times being a treasurer, I get jealous that I don't hear stuff that the president or the vice president, the secretary or the other trustees might know. But there is a lot of conversation that we do have as it pertains to money, especially in the absence of our CFO. And so I just want to thank you for everything that you do. Thank you for spending your birthday with us. And I know a lot of times we talk as if you're not at the table. And so I just want you to, I hope that you read a devotion or something that kind of soothes you in these times in which we have to have public conversation. I apologize, but you know, I know that we have to do it. And so thank you for having thick skin. And I want to thank our board members too for always, you know, just being willing to move on, presume positive intentions, say what we want to say, and walk out of here and still love and move forward for the work of Ben Harbor Area Schools. Thank you.
Thank you for your
You're
extremely
welcome.
positive message.
That's my heart. I mean that.
Thank you. Next, we have Secretary Triplett.
Well, I would like to take this opportunity to say happy birthday to Dr. Butts. Again, I stated earlier that I just appreciate everything that you have done. And I think yeah, you've done a great job. You're doing a great job. Continue to do the good work. You know, sometimes it gets kind of taxing. It gets tiring because I don't like to be in individual stuff. And a lot of the stuff is filtered off into us being able to do our work. And it comes every meeting, every week. And it has really just I just feel like it just almost messed our board up. The work and the focus of our Board of Education. And we're just like oftentimes distracted because it's like, you know, I don't know what it is, but for me, enough is enough. We are not, our kids are not in buildings that's getting ready to blow up. Okay, because if we were in buildings getting ready to blow up, y'all sitting up here in danger. Coming up in these meetings, arguing in a building that's getting ready to blow up. So we have to be careful what we put out. As board members, we have to be careful. I can only speak for myself and not my colleagues either. I have never voted against nothing as it relates to not preparing our board list. Nothing. And you can say it loud or you can say it soft, but you said it. I've had my name posted on situations, circumstances, I haven't said one word. But I am committed to Ben Harbor Area Schools. And if I can still be committed to Ben Harbor Area School after all of the shenanigans that I've experienced throughout my lifetime here in Ben Harbor, anybody can do it. I wish all of my colleagues on this board, you guys are amazing. You all are very, very smart. You're very, very talented. You have my utmost respect. But I want the same kind of respect from you all that you expect. To whom much is given, much is required. It's not gonna always go your way. I sat on this board for almost a year at a 5-2 vote. Every vote, where it was 2 of us on the 2. That's board work. We live in a democracy. Treasurer Creighton and I, we came in and it was 5-2 majority of the time. And we said, we grew and we learned. But I want to say this to everybody. This is not a game. Now, if you really want to see me, this ain't no game. That's not no threat to anybody. I mean, but I don't play about this. This takes a lot of time because I have given my life to Ben Harbor Area School, my professional life. And so for me, I don't want to be put in no box. I'm not at this table laughing and playing. I am serious about this stuff and about this work. And we as a Board of Education, we have to hold ourselves accountable too, including me, because there's a lot more, there's some things that we should be doing on a regular basis that we should have done. And moving forward, this is going to have to be the way of operation. I do want to say to our president, I want you to stay encouraged. You know, I want you to stay encouraged, but you know, you see what you got. Okay, so you got to come on with. You're doing a good job. Come on with. Thank you.
Shots fired.
All right, Vice President Bowens.
Good evening. Thank you for coming out to tonight's board meeting. I thought it was going to be an hour, but I see we went over. I want to start with the quote that says this: since narcissists deep down feel themselves to be faultless, it is inevitable for them when they are in conflict with the world, they will perceive the conflict as the world's fault. So that sums it up. These past few months, we have an individual board member that has filed recalls, has petitioned people to file recalls, and has people that have threatened my life. They have threatened to come up to the courthouse or recall hearings and shoot me. Now, I'm not scared of it. I got my protection and everything. But when is enough? When do we call people out for what they really stand? They preach this peace, but their action is not of peace. They spend hours obsessed with me. Have you ever seen the movie Obsessed with Beyonce? That's kind of some of the actions that they do. They go back and forth posting videos and shots and screenshots, spying and all of this stuff. Are you that obsessed with me? You want to run for mayor and you're evil. Some of you use your age as a reason to get over and get however you want. 80 years old, 90 years old. You deserve to be told when you're wrong. When you come to the public meeting and when you speak out on facts that are not true, I have a right to correct you when I am not on the board table or when I'm out in public. So yes, I did go out and I had a conversation. By the way, I did even have it recorded and on phone call. So it was someone listening to the conversation, and I came and at the end of the conversation, I said, I still love you and I'm voting for you. Did I not? But hopefully we stay up to see all of those times because we're too busy picking fights when we should be looking at stuff and being a grandma and being focused. We're too busy picking fights, having husbands threaten people.
Point of
No,
order.
it's my comment.
Just because it's comments doesn't mean that you can attack the audience.
I
Point
am
of
asking
order.
for you all. Trustee Bowens, if you could, you have 5
I'm
seconds.
reclaiming my time. I'm trying to finish because she interrupted me. So can I get my 5 seconds back? Because this is the type of behavior
Point
that she
of order.
constantly does.
Madam
She,
Chair,
no,
he is attacking
We
the audience.
are
I'm not
going.
attacking you.
Trustee,
I'm setting up facts. What I'm saying is not a lie. Did you not try to?
if you
recall
all
me?
do not stop at this particular time, I will adjourn.
When is the board going to say something? Well,
I am
because it's
going
time
to
go.
adjourn if
But
we cannot move forward. Trustee
It's
Bowens,
point of order.
Trustee Bowens, I'm just asking for you to cease. I'm asking for both of you all to cease.
I'm fine. That's this.
I'm asking for you to cease.
Come on.
I'm gonna take 2 seconds.
The both of you thing, Madam Chair.
You say a lot.
I am, okay.
On disrespect.
At this particular time, if we cannot move forward, because I have a comment, we have a closed session. That's all we need to do. If we cannot get through that, then I will recess the meeting.
Madam President, his time is up. I think you're
We're just gonna
last.
move forward.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I'll ask that everyone else just please stop with the side comments and things like that. And I'll try to, I'm honestly at a loss for words. And so at this particular time, I apologize for anyone that may not be a believer, but I am going to ask that my God give me the words that I need to say at this particular time. This Board of Education has come an extremely long way in learning to work with each other, to get business handled at this table, and to be able, as Treasurer Creighton has said, to have knockdown battles at the table. And by the time we get in the parking lot, we're perfectly fine and working through it. Because everyone at this board is passionate about a particular issue. And at any given time, we can each be at the opposite side of the table with each other. But it does not mean that it has to turn into this toxic environment. And so I am one, if you've been at these meetings, if you're at this table, you know that I normally can keep it pretty calm and I can keep it pretty cool. But it's just some negative energy that is being brought about that is preventing the business that needs to get handled. And it is a distraction. And I, at any given point, I've said this multiple times, I have gone up to bat and battle for every member of this board, whether people realize that or are aware of that because they can't see it and aren't present or not. And I know that there was, there's been comments made about things on social media and things like that. And, it's dangerous to assassinate the character of individuals simply because you disagree with the way that they vote at the table. Because that same person may be your ally on the next vote. And if we can't agree to disagree and be able to work through issues, then we never have the opportunity to be unified as a board. And we have to be able to lead from the top down. And if you are in a position where you're telling people that you want them to come to your district and you want them to send your kids to your district and you want them to do all of these great things, then I would ask that everybody at this board table and everybody that works for this district that's sitting here to ask yourself the way that you conduct yourself at this board table, including myself, the way that you conduct business at this board table, the way that you conduct yourself on social media, the way that you conduct yourself in the community, is it in a manner that shows that you are doing things that will encourage people to come back to our district? Or is it going to push families and students away? And I really want you all to think about that wholeheartedly, because we went from having amazing meetings to all of a sudden things are falling apart. And the shift is obvious, but it's normal because you have a new team and you have to learn how to grow and work together. But in order for us to do that, each of us have to be committed and leave our personal agendas to the side. And we cannot set a fire just so that we can get the glory from being the one that put the fire out. And I want individuals to really marinate on that. It is not effective to set a fire or to have a little smoke that you see and tell everybody there's a fire just so you can get the glory of putting the fire out. That's dangerous. So the boy that cried wolf. Because when the wolf was really there, nobody really wanted to even listen to it. So, I got a little bit out of character earlier. It's not my norm, but I meant everything I said. And if it shows up on social media or in somebody's language on some document in the future, I will still show up and tell them I meant everything I said. Because one thing I do is I hold back everything that I would like to say that I maybe shouldn't say, and I lead this board with grace, and I let people throw daggers and the sauce at me and everything they want to do. And I am done doing that. And I have told you all that before, and I hope I showed you tonight. So we will either work together at this board table, or you all will see me virtually in the media like the Flint city councilman that everybody is blowing around, because we will be able to move forward as a board. I will not allow us to disrespect each other and not have the order of this business done the way that it should be. So at this particular time, I'm wrapping up my comment. I appreciate all of the public that came. I assure you all, even though we may fight and tussle at the board table, when we leave tonight, we'll be laughing in the parking lot. We don't have any hatred for each other. We love each other genuinely, even when we say slick things and throw shade. So I genuinely wholeheartedly love everybody at this table. I really do. But I'm not gonna stop myself from telling you about yourself just because I love you. And that's being real, that's real love. So I am going to, now we're gonna proceed with the agenda.
Madam President,
Yes,
I make a motion that we go into closed session.
I second that motion.
the motion has been made by Treasurer Creighton and supported by Trustee Rocket Martin. Any questions, comments, or concerns?
I'm sorry, under policy 0167, I make a motion that we go into closed session under policy 0167.2F.
All right, and that is to consider materials such as written opinions of counsel, which are exempt from discussion by state or federal statute. That was supported by Trustee Rocket Martin. Any additional questions, comments, and concerns? Hearing none, Secretary Triplett.
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bowens,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes, Treasurer Creighton.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Gavin,
Yes.
you want to close session? Yes.
Yes.
Motion carried. I'm gonna go to the panel.
All right, so we are entering closed session at 9:44 PM. Return to
I'm
open
sorry.
session effectively 10:43 PM. Is there a second or support?
Support.
The motion has been made. It has been supported as well. Any questions, comments, concerns regarding ending closed session and returning to open session? Hearing none, Secretary Triplett, can you please call the vote?
President Robinson.
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes, Treasurer Creighton.
Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Gavin.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, and at this particular time, I'll ask if there's a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
The motion has been made by Treasurer Creighton. Is there a second or support? The motion has been made by Treasurer Creighton and supported by Trustee Rocket Martin. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none, Secretary Triplett, can you please call the vote?
President Robinson.
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Treasurer Creighton.
Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Gavin.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, meeting is adjourned at 10:44 PM officially. Have a great day.
Oh.